All right, guys, special guest here. Colts cheerleaders. Woo! This is our Colts. This is our team. We bleed green.
This is our Colts, whether win or lose.
Okay.
We love them.
For the shoe. Beat the Bears.
Let's bear down with Josh Downs.
This is our team. Go Colts.
Yay! Hey, that's a fucking guttural noise coming out of that guy. Hold on, I can't hear you yet, Bo. Yay!
Can't hear him, but you're already up 1-0.
Chris, that was an early F-bomb, so even
did
out
he
the score.
say an F-bomb?
You
did.
When?
Just now.
Who cares?
You okay?
Hey, Chris.
No, I
what the fuck
actually
is
been
up,
working
man? How are you?
24
There it is.
hours.
Tied it up.
Fucking exhausted. Fuck. You,
Oh.
yeah.
I like that strategy.
You win. I want him to have as many highlights as he wants, and then I can say whatever I want. Welcome to the show, everybody. We start with the Colts, or do we start with? No. We were going to do that. We're a little early, jumping the gun on the layup line thing, which is fine. But the first thing we got to do is Sunday Night Football. Customarily, that's what we do first, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And I just want to say this, guys. People can complain about like the Chiefs all they want, but they are a good draw in a primetime game. Not only because you get to watch Patrick Mahomes, who was off last night early in the game, and that made it interesting, but because that uniform looks so damn good on TV. Inside, outside, the all whites with the Kansas City Chiefs. I love those get-ups in primetime. They look great under the lights or indoor. Wherever you want to wear them, they look great. And you get to see Mahomes.
No, I think everyone, when Kansas City plays, everyone's waiting for the evidence for the referee Rico that is going to happen, or that fans want to happen, because Kansas City just seems so fortunate when it comes to calls.
Do
or
they?
not getting calls
Do they?
called on them,
Which calls?
especially
I'm gonna
in
put the ball in your
primetime
court.
games.
I'm going to put the ball in your court. Name a few.
Pass interference at the end of the game.
Last night.
Yes.
No, I agree. That was pass interference.
So
Keep going.
So, but for the refs,
But keep going.
the non-pass interference last week.
That was a pass interference last week. That ended.
That
the
was
game.
pass
That
interference,
was definitely
for
pass
sure.
interference.
Yeah.
We're
I love conspiracy facts. Let conspiracy
facts has
cook.
got to cook, so I'm not trying to
Yeah.
get in the way, but like, it's how soon do we forget that Carl Cheffers, like, famously on 2 separate occasions, just took the game from him. No, I mean, like, listen, Tony was being an idiot, and so, like, but you didn't see that called a lot, and people were like, yeah, you took. If the Chiefs had gotten that call, hey, the biggest blown call of the day had nothing to do with the Chiefs. We're going to get there in a little bit. Any guesses what that call was? Hey, and I know some people are going to be
Cardinals.
upset.
It's
Golly,
Cardinals.
I was asking people in the chat.
Sorry, dude. I've been waiting to just fume about this. I'm like the meme of the kid at the desk. That was
You
cost him
can't-
the whole game, bro.
Bo's a guy. What's up with your mic today?
Is it bad?
I don't know. People in chat, we good? You got a good mic? I just want to make sure. I'm trying to get you to do an F-bomb. Sorry about the hat. I had this other hat, kind of a stupid hat. You know, like, I don't want to go on TV with a stupid hat. This is basically TV. When I signed up for this shit years ago, I signed up for a podcast. Now we're doing a live TV show. You know?
I think it looks great.
Well, thanks. But, you know, when you're watching all the games, last thing you have time to think about is your drip. Now, you got some drip today with the ODB T-shirt and just your sunglasses and the whole thing. But
just a graphic tee, bro.
I came in this morning disheveled. I had to drive to work without a shirt on. I drove to work shirtless. Reed had to run me out of shirt in the street so I could walk into the building. Just
Shirtless pod, dude.
No,
Missed
we're not-
opportunity. We
we're
could have done it. Come
No,
on.
you could. You know what was so funny was you and Kelsey trying to push that pig play porn on everybody. The wet naked plus size guys on top of an SUV. I know it got views because there's a lot of people that like that stuff.
That was a great video, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not big. What'd you say? Like
I don't know, pig play or something.
Oh yeah, what the hell?
No, wait. What do you mean? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Okay, because Travis Kelsey knows what I'm talking about. He spun the video and it was the funniest damn thing I saw.
Mudang.
It was Mudang the hippo.
Yeah.
They were so it looked like they were about to douse each other with water, and all of a sudden, you haven't seen this?
I have not seen this.
There's a damn hippo that comes out of nowhere, and it's just a guy hosing off the hippo. I just thought that was incredible. So I apologize for wearing this hat, but I have a huge bet with MGM that the Eagles are going to win the East. And yesterday was one of those days, man. It was just one of those days. It was fun to be an Eagles fan, even if it wasn't for like 45 minutes of that game. We're going to get to that game in a little bit.
Did Wisconsin win?
I honestly don't even know.
Wow,
They didn't play.
Okay.
They won.
Bye.
Well, so they did.
won, bro.
I was saying,
We
everyone in the office, part of Green Light, Virginia won, JMU won, the Eagles and the Broncos all won this weekend.
Hey, that was pretty good. Yeah, and Wisconsin technically won. JMU should be, you know how they say relegated? Y'all should have to play. JMU should have to play the Browns now. How do you think that O-line would do blocking Myles Garrett?
Wait,
that's the game.
How about the two JMU guys? When I said JMU plays UNC this weekend, when we were in the office, they both were like, "Yeah, we're not going to win this game." And
to be completely fair, how we played against UNC was vastly different than how we played in the first two games of the season.
To be fair, if I had any advice for JMU, it's play this the rest of the season like it's the BCS era. Blow everybody out and get in the playoff.
Get in the playoff. Please get in
How about Virginia and JMU getting in the playoff?
What if they played each other?
I would put the cart before the horse, a little bit like you and the Broncos. Although that tree,
Let's go!
That tree bared some fruit yesterday for Nate.
Yeah, it did.
You know, almost ruined my day.
Oh, and I have to tell you, I have my first ever parlay that is going into its second day still alive.
Oh, a second day parlay?
It's still alive.
So the parlay went to sleep, woke up this morning, still alive?
Still alive.
I love the fact that your parlay is going to come crashing. I don't love it. I want you to win your parlay. But the fact that you put the parlay in and the last leg is Cincinnati losing that game, I think Cincinnati's going to win that game.
No.
We'll get there later in the show. Okay. Hey, welcome to the show. Let's talk about Sunday Night Football. We've been all over the place early, but it's just that kind of day. There's a poll. That's what they call them. In the chat, in what?
Easy. Easy, Jerry Joe.
No Diddy.
Talking about polls early.
Easy, Jerry Joe.
Save it. So anyways, there's a poll in the chat that I don't want to bring up what I brought up yesterday. But it's just too damn funny. I have a funny thing I'll say in a podcast later this week, but I'm not going to say it now. There's a poll that's like, hey, pass interference, was it or was it not on Kyle Pitts? It was pass interference. Now, they got down there at the end of the game and had a chance to win that thing. And I just want to give big credit to that Kansas City front. The thing I said this week was I thought they would be able to build a flat wall. They gave up some leakage in the run game. I mean, Atlanta's got a good run game. They're two backs deep. They did it to my Birds. They stretched the front, and then they hit it downhill. And the whole thing, early on, Drake London's having his way with McDuffie. McDuffie's having a rough day, and you're saying, here we go all over again. And then late in the game, when they get the ball, I'm like, twice in a row, these teams let the Falcons hang around. They must be a lot of fun at parties because the Falcons, they let them hang around. And it got to the point where it comes down to a couple plays, and I'm starting to say, like, we're taking timeouts. If I'm Kansas City, I'm taking timeouts because I feel like they're going to score. And they did take a timeout, and they forced a 3rd and 1. And on that 3rd and 1, I think it was Tranquil bench pressing a center or a guard, just a stud. The linebackers that Spags gets to play this way. I mean, last year Tranquil was a guy that stepped in.
Yep.
And this year he's a guy you're glad he's on your team. And Chenal is a guy who's really come along.
Oh yeah.
Not to mention, I wish we could put this up here. There's a picture of Tranquil.
Just a powerhouse stance.
Bro, he got in there in that they put him in at fullback at one point on the goal line, and it was like he was 600 pounds. His stance, he's convinced he's 600 pounds. He's in a 4-point stance. He's 6 inches off the ground.
Yep.
And this guy's big. Like the way Spags described this guy to me was strong as an ox.
Yep.
And you can see it on that 4th down play where Nick Bolton gets a lot of the credit, and he's a total stud. And he made some big plays in this game. By the way, Bijan Robinson impressed me, picking him up in the hole a couple times on 3rd down. But the play call from Robinson, not a great one in my opinion. We were sitting here on the couch, and what did I turn to you and say? On the edge. They're going. It's going to be on the edge.
Yep.
And they went on the edge, and those guys reset the front, and Bolton comes through clean, makes the play, ball game. What made this a game was early on, Mahomes looked a little off. Like so much so that on one of the plays, Rashid gave him palms up, which like you give the GOAT palms up. You know, like he's obviously a little bit off. And it was one of those situations early where we were like, did he get dinged or something? But he settled in as the game went on. A positive for Kansas City is Wanya Morris played well. He did. All Bill wanted to talk about at Inside the NFL this week was the tackle situation. And I'm like, man, is it like a burning building? Like last year it was bad, and it wasn't great. But Wanya Morris stepped in, did a nice job in the run game, and did a nice job in the pass game as well. So just all over the place. I thought a lot of the unsung heroes for the Kansas City defense stepped up.
Yeah.
And, that's what you got when you got a really well-coached group.
And they also showed they can move the ball efficiently without Pacheco in the lineup.
That's the whole key. We said this coming in the game. Their run game is going to be getting the ball to Worthy on the perimeter. It's going to be getting the ball to Rice on the perimeter, who's built like a running back. He runs like a running back. And Crocky J was poor Crocodile. Crocky J's watching the game. He wants to cheer. His mouth's fucking taped shut. This kid in P. Ryan can get it done inside.
Yep.
So I don't worry about these guys. I think they'll be fine.
I was surprised to see no wedding invite for Crocky J. Carson Steele's sister got married yesterday. It didn't look like Crocky J.
No Gator?
I don't think so.
Where'd she get married?
I don't know. They were showing clips online of everybody at the wedding watching the game. They had it on a big screen there. But
does she hate football?
Apparently. Must
like
be.
unbelievable.
Yeah. She definitely didn't think her brother was making the team.
I think
that's the truth.
Talk about it, be your own, man.
About it.
Yeah, right. That's the truth.
Like worst best case scenario was doing exactly what they did.
Right.
Talking about it, just being like, I don't know if I'll make a team, but if I do, you guys will be able to watch me.
And another thing is in that 4th and short, I just want to say this, like, not for nothing, Kirk's not going to, become a 4-8 guy overnight. And, like he's had his issues with his Achilles and the mobility. But having a guy like Mahomes on 4th and short, and by the way, they took the ball out of his hands inexplicably earlier in the game on a 4th and short. In a game situation where it's 4th and short and you got to have it, like having a quarterback that can get out on the edge, a run pass option, something where, Mahomes rolling right, hitting Rice at the sticks. Like they've lived off that stuff for years. Atlanta doesn't have that because they don't have the mobility with Kirk.
Right.
But I think part of the issue is, like, I saw some people in chat wondering why you wouldn't sneak it. Obviously, you paid Kirk $1 billion, and he's coming off an injury, so that's one thing. But let's not forget, like, the interior of the Falcons' offensive line last night was a little banged up. Like, they had 2 O-line injuries, I think. They had 2 guys go out, and that, I think, affected their run game a lot. Probably the decision making in the fourth quarter, with those 4th downs.
No question. No question. That's a great point. Once they lost those guys, it felt like Kansas City was going to find a way to win this game, because if Atlanta can't run the ball, when they got to 3rd down, and they barely got to 3rd down in the first quarter, they were doing a pretty good job on early downs. When Kansas City got 3rd down on these guys, I think Atlanta was 2 for 9.
Yep.
And, if it's not a bust in the red zone on 3rd down and it's not a roughing the passer or whatever it was, for the most part, they got off the field. And, with the game on the line on 4th and 5 after that PI, they bring Connor again, same spot as last week. Last week he's coming off the double team of Chase. So all game long you're thinking he's doubling. They're bracketing, Chase. And he comes off that and makes the play. And, again, pressuring in the right situation. It's just Spags with that soft touch.
So do you think the way the run game went for Atlanta and Bijan, 16 carries, 31 yards, you think that's indicative to Spags in that front, or do they have a problem in Atlanta they have to figure out?
No, I think if everybody's healthy on this front, they can make a lot of people look like the Eagles looked. You know, I'm still not getting out over my skis with this team. Like, they got some things to prove, but this defense through a couple weeks has had more good moments than bad. I think that's a solid, you know, because a month before the season started, you didn't know where you're going to get your pass rush.
Yep.
You know, they had missed opportunities to get Sweat last year. They had drafted a rookie, Trice, I think, from Washington.
Yep.
He got hurt. Then they go out and get Judon. And, you know, before they got Simmons and Judon, they were worried about this defense.
Mm-hmm.
But now with Jesse Bates in the middle, who, by the way, you know, Mahomes has always had trouble with these guys in the middle. And early in the game, that trend continued. The ball he threw that was almost picked off in the end zone on maybe the first drive, like, he's supposed to throw that to the F in Falcons on the right side of the end zone. It just not very un-Mahomes-like. And another, you know, pick he threw, throwing the ball to Blake Bell. I mean, like, he just didn't look right early. And Kansas City's that good. You go on the road to play Atlanta in a hostile environment, down your starting running back, and your quarterback doesn't have his best half, and you're still like, oh, we're fine. You know,
Yep.
They're going to be fine. Fellas. The layup line song. Can you play it one more time? Is that possible? Can I hear that one more time?
Banger.
As I get my notes together to talk about this game, because this was one of the most interesting games on the weekend. Chat, how we doing? We love you. Thanks for being here. You know, we don't need to play it again, Reed. I can sing it. This is our Colts. This is our team. We bleed blue. Woo! This is our team. We bleed blue.
Sounds like Kids Bop, dude.
It does.
I just want to hear. I want to hear the whinny. Yeah. Unbelievable. Shout out to that guy, and shout out to that guy for getting some cheerleaders in the building, getting some extras 3 weeks into his career as resident Colts hype man,
Rising star.
and kudos to the cheerleaders for having the pipes, the vocals. Hey, listen, if you're the Colts, the good news is you won this game. That's about it.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the game, but Anthony Richardson, and he is a talented young man who's basically in his rookie season. And
He's a fucking loose cannon, dude.
okay. And I like the guy. Everything he does, when I see him talk, when I watch him conduct himself, he's a guy I like. And when you watch him throw the ball week 1, 75 yards, or the ball to I forget who it was.
Doolin.
Ashton Doolin. Or the shot in the second quarter that puts him in the red zone. You're like, hey, this can be the guy. But the third and shorts, the fourth and shorts, there were multiple in this game where he throws the ball and the crowd doesn't know how to react.
Right.
It looks like a throwaway.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff's got to get cleaned up, and I don't know if it's mechanics.
Yeah.
But, you know, like if I were Indy, I'd have Peyton Manning in the building. I'd have like, and this is the thing, like, I don't know that QB coaches in the NFL actually work technique as well as like the specialists do.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
They help you with the X's and O's. They help you with, you know, setting the front, the protection, working with the offensive coordinator. But I don't know that guys in the building are working on technique in a specialized way where you're going to be able to put this fire out in a year.
Right.
So at some point, if you have aspirations of making the playoffs this year, you might turn to Flacco.
Right.
And give this kid a break, you know, because as it stands right now, he's missing a lot of easy throws.
Yeah. And the stuff that he's doing really well, you talk about the week 1 stuff, the explosive plays. Flacco gives you that too. Like we saw that a lot last year in the stuff he did for the Browns, those big plays.
They haven't been that explosive since.
Right. But what you're missing with Richardson in there is just being able to stay on schedule.
Yes.
Like you referenced the money downs. It's the efficiency piece of just not being able to stay out there and churn out longer drives.
It's the efficiency, and like, listen, if you look at like what they do really well, yes, he gives you some explosives with his legs. Like, there's the threat of quarterback run, but I don't think their run game looks as good as it could.
Right.
Jonathan Taylor made a cut yesterday that was like, I mean, I'm watching him make the cut. It's the same thing I'm thinking when I'm watching Saquon accelerate and beat Lattimore to the pylon. It's like, this guy's special.
Yep.
And while that's happening, while I watch Saquon, I'm like, oh, he's in the right place. I watch Jonathan Taylor, and I'm like, is he going to waste his career here?
Right.
And we'll talk about this later. Like, maybe it's a thing where he's for sale at some point. They lost players in this game. Like, late in the game, they lost Kwity Paye. They lost 3 guys on the same drive. Kwity looks like he's out for a while. At one point, Kenny Moore went down. They lost, I think, Dallas Flowers on the same drive. Like, they're banged up. They don't look right. And more than anything, okay, let me get to the lead. Gun to my head, you don't even have to show me the gun. I'm taking Caleb Williams over Anthony Richardson.
Yes. Some of
like,
the throws that Caleb Williams hit to Rome Odunze, dude, you're just looking at it, you're like, whoa.
Dude, this was a classic box score game.
Yeah.
If you looked at the box score, because this is a game we did not watch in real time. We had TVs for everything. And I was like, well, looks like Caleb had another bad day, You watch that tape. The only thing these guys had in common was the second quarter sequence where they both threw absolute dimes and then made stupid decisions and threw picks. They traded sequences like that. The rest of the game, yeah, there's miscommunications. The second throw of the game, Moore is running vertical. It looks like, Caleb's throwing a comeback. Swift and him had one. Odunze quit on a route, which is really good to have Kurt Warner calling the game. No, seriously. We all jokes aside, I think Kurt did a great job of, like, when I see a young quarterback and he's the story of the game, I want a quarterback calling that game.
Yep.
And I thought it was really cool to, like, hear him say, well, I put that on Rome Odunze. Or, hey, that was an interesting decision, when Caleb makes an interesting decision. Some of the throws he made, the one where on second down, and this came back because of a Darnell Wright penalty, I think, but he jumped in the air like he was a fucking dodgeball player. And he threw like a piss missile. Like it was like a ninja star, bro. This guy is, I see it. I definitely see it. And this was the first game where you could see it. Like the other 2 games, he was missing on these spectacular throws. And he didn't have time.
Mm-hmm.
And no, they couldn't run the ball. And it is laughable that you go into this game and throw the ball 52 times. And there were box counts that they said we want to get out of.
I thought this was a copycat league.
What do you mean?
Thought,
it's supposed to be a copycat league.
You would think that they would run the ball more.
It's supposed to be a copycat league. They look lost up front. Welcome to the NFL. You're a rookie quarterback. Again, I'm not feeling bad for him for this, especially when people put this team in the playoffs. But the thing you traded, and you have to be okay with this, and Matt Eberflus has to be okay with this, is we'll talk about Justin Fields in a little bit. And, Bo, I know you have that game pretty well covered. All I want to say about that game when we get there is Justin Fields. And, there's a lot more to the game, but Justin Fields is more ready to operate right now. That offense is not ready to operate right now. Like, there is credence to the theory that you should have drafted Justin Fields and kept Justin Fields and drafted Caleb Williams.
Yep.
Think about, like, if he weren't so, and I'll give him this, off last week, he got murdered, and I talked about his toughness. Mm-hmm. And then to come out of that this week with everybody, including myself, criticizing him for like middle of the field meet up with CJ Stroud or like this decision or that decision or, for him to come out and play the way he played, it wasn't perfect. He threw them some balls, but they actually looked like an offense at times. And so I would look at Shane Waldron and say, if you get down in the red zone and on 3rd and goal, you're going to block number 94 with number 11. I don't care who number 94 is. I don't care who number 11 is. League-wide, that's not going to work. Okay? And then 4th and short, you're going to run a speed option. That's stuff I do in Madden when I'm high at 1 a.m.
Right.
You know, like if you're not good enough to run the football into the end zone in the low red, maybe you weren't ready for a nice car like this.
Yep.
And so I have mixed feelings watching this team, and I say, like, your window is open, but it's not going to happen this year unless – and I said this 2 weeks ago. There's 2 teams in the NFL, ironically, if they figure out the quarterback, who are scary. The Bears and the Steelers. The Steelers look closer to doing that. The irony of this game is if Indy is not playing with their food, they run away with this thing. And so even as well as Caleb played, you're just not ready.
Right.
And I think that's the thing looking at Chicago. It's like you traded this year for the future. And the question is, how many people are going to be there to enjoy Caleb Williams' success? I mean, I think Poles and Cunningham have done a great job. But they took this gamble knowing full well that it might be a long play.
Yep.
And I see that watching, you know. But the long play could really work out because this kid's got some special stuff to him.
Yep.
He really does.
Chris, you want to know what the play of the game was for me?
What was it?
For the Bears Indy game? Latu's sack. It was, I mean, I feel like they're driving late. They're getting they're kind of getting going a little bit. Caleb Williams is making some nice throws. They feel comfortable. They're getting some good stuff out of their screen game, their perimeter stuff. Then they get that sack. The Colts get good field position. It just kills them. You know, Richardson has a nice run after that, and then they just bang the ball into the end zone, and the game's over. So that, to me, is a play of a game. Like, I truly think that there's no such thing as a moral victory in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, because they're all in the building. You know it better than everybody. Miserable on Monday. Like, what are we doing? Like, we dropped this game, but they played well, and he threw the ball 52 times. Like, Caleb Williams was solid. I also like Cole Kmet was a really good option for him too underneath, which is nice to see. Like, I thought the Bears actually showed a lot of really good stuff.
The Bears showed some good stuff. They still can't run the ball. It's amazing how many running backs leave the Eagles and don't look the same. Right. You know, like Miles Sanders, Swift now. So beware if you're signing a guy that was running behind that line. It's not always going to look the same. And I just listen. Last year I was as vocal as anybody. Stuck my nuts on the table and said, "Hey, like you shouldn't make this move. Like you should trade out, recoup some draft capital. Your window's open. I'm just a player. You know, I want a chance to win every year. And so, like, the long game for me can be, especially with the bust rate of a quarterback in the top 5, it can be tough. And I watch this guy and I'm saying, like, hey, they might mismanage him and he still might be good. And hey, I'm watching this game on All 22 and I'm watching Kansas City on TV, and it's just kind of ironic because in some of these moments he does look like Mahomes.
Yep.
He really fucking does. He's also tiny. And the Colts D-line is huge, and you could see in some of these situations the pocket would collapse, and it was like he was thrown out of a plastic bag.
Right.
And so, like, in situations like that, you know, I kind of worry, but overall he made some throws that made me excited if you're a Bears fan. So I hope Bears fans come out of this week and they're like, okay, Bears fans that wanted Caleb, you can't be mad your team's not going to make, you know, the NFC Championship this year. Like, you wanted that. But if you were playing the long game, he looks like he's got a shot.
Yep.
And I'll give him credit because he got pummeled last week, and the whole world's coming down on him. And he came out and he didn't look rattled. He didn't.
Yeah.
And
it's a long season too. I mean, we see the growth we saw from Jordan Love over the course of last year. Who knows when we look up in December where Caleb's at?
Dude, maybe the most impressive play of the game was the bad snap, his first NFL touchdown, and maybe encapsulates the whole issue more than anything. His first NFL touchdown comes on a terrible snap that he's got to, like, you know, contort his body to catch, and then he gets the ball out, and it's a dime, like, just like that. So there's hope. Bears fans, you have hope.
But that same play illustrated some of his inexperience. Right after that play, him and Rome are talking about who gets the touchdown ball. But they're going for 2, and he doesn't even realize that.
Yeah, no question. I mean, Eberflus calling a timeout, I think, before they run a 2-point conversion. Like, there were coaching decisions that weren't great in this game. But more than anything, if I watch this game, I'm watching with the long play in mind because both these teams are going to be defined by the quarterbacks that they went with. And I would take Caleb over the other guy. And that's with all due respect to the other guy because I respect the way he plays the game. I think he's trying to do everything right. But right now, he's spraying the ball.
He did truck a few defenders in the run game. That was fun to watch.
Oh, it's fun. It's always going to be fun to watch him play. Always. And if somebody can fix his technique, sky's the limit. But try doing that on the run without a specialist in the building that I know of.
Right.
All right. What's next, fellas? Oh, the NFC North. This is the problem. The NFC North is good. And if you're talking about right now, like, you make this move. Minnesota didn't have to sell out to get a quarterback. They waited for JJ. JJ got hurt, and they picked up Sam Darnold. And a small victory lap for me. I mean, you got that audio, Reed? I mean, we don't need to play it right now. We put it out on a social, but after the Ravens game last year, I said somebody's going to get Sam Darnold and going to be very happy.
Yep.
Because he is following the blueprint of go to QB camp out west like Baker Mayfield, get a shot somewhere else, and some team's going to be kicking themselves because they sold out for a quarterback and they were in purgatory and they didn't make a move for Sam Darnold. Now, not every team has Kevin O'Connell. I think the biggest thing that we've learned watching the first month of the season, talking about quarterback play and all that, is coaching matters more than ever. Like scheme matters more than ever. I think there's a couple things at play in general, and guys, I'll be curious what you think, but I think that crop of quarterbacks, the bunch of Hall of Famers, Breeze, Brady, Manning, Rivers, that whole group, Manning. I think we got used to it. My generation was like, this is how it is to watch quarterbacks. So you have to replace that crop, and you're replacing them with guys that played college football in systems where they weren't asked to run a pro-style offense. And if teams are going to be in too high, because we made a big deal about too high, okay, you can be too high, but you have to be able to run the ball.
No, it's illegal. It's been outlawed. You can't play too high anymore, didn't you?
Right.
You're not allowed as a defender. You can't sack the quarterback. You can't hit him high. You can't hit him low.
No,
it's play too high. You can't hip drop tackle. You can't do shit.
There's way more nuance to this thing than just like, hey, it's just the preseason, or hey, it's just the quarterbacks, or hey, it's just the coaches. But I think it's the perfect storm where defensive scheme has caught up to a wave of offensive scheme. There was a wave of offensive scheme with, Shanahan, who's now down a running back, who might be down a tackle. I don't know what's going on with Trent Williams, who was down Kittle.
I think he went back
down Debo. Okay. Miami, they've had their problems, but that offense is great, right? A bunch of these guys have gotten caught up to a little bit. Now you've got your Brian Flores's of the world. You've got your Mike McDonald's who had a head coaching job this year as a defensive head coach. So, there's a lot of scheme chess going on behind the scenes, but all the while you're trying to turn a bunch of guys in college who aren't asked to do much into pro quarterbacks.
Right.
And I think if you can't run the ball, then the too high thing becomes a problem.
Yep.
And so Kevin O'Connell is a hell of a coach. I mean, he is a bona fide great coach. And I would say that Sam Darnold, watching him, the 4 touchdowns he threw in the red zone, because I think if you want to know if a quarterback is a real guy, you put him down in the red zone and you say, hey, make a throw. He made 4 of them.
Yep.
One of them he's rolling left, one of them hits a crosser, but 2 of them are in traffic. And I got to say, as an Eagles fan, I'm watching us work in the red zone, and I'm saying, this guy paired with this coordinator looks like a stud.
Yep.
And the decisions he's making, it's like he's finally born. Sam Darnold has finally been born.
Leads the NFL with 8 touchdowns through 3 weeks.
It's not.
He's also so tough. I feel like that's one thing that he's getting. Like it was Daniil Hunter who hit him kind of low, and I think I saw somebody that said he got pushed in the game. He got booed for it. But anyway, Darnold comes back into the game. He gets cheered for by everybody at US Bank. It was a pretty cool moment, and then stayed in, hung in there, had a great game. It was gritty. You can just feel like everyone in the locker room kind of rallying behind Sam Darnold. Everyone in Minnesota as fans rallying behind him too. And I think it's a cool thing, man. It's fun to see these resurgence of people like Baker, who had a tough one on Sunday, but like playing well, Geno.
It proves that situation matters. I hope we never do this again where we oversimplify who a player is out of the gate. Really excited about this because they're playing the Darnold audio right now. Why you want to play it? Okay, go ahead and play that so I can. Darnold in Minnesota, I'm really excited about this. I said this after the Ravens game, and I think this San Francisco cameo for Sam Darnold could lead to another opportunity for him. So we could be looking back next year. I can't reach my back. Hunt that played themselves out of draft position, didn't get the guy they wanted to trade, and they go to a Sam Darnold and they say, "Hey, thanks, Kyle Shanahan." I liken it to the Baker Mayfield situation. This might be Baker Mayfield and then some.
Yep.
Because this guy is playing like a top 10 quarterback, and I see somebody in the chat talking about an overreaction. I'm just telling you, how could it be an overreaction when I told you what would happen?
Film don't lie.
All right, so the film don't lie. This guy can play. KOC can call plays, and I look at the Texans' first 5 possessions: interception on a tip ball, missed field goal, punt 3 times. You know what was different about this Texans offense this week besides B-Flow saying, hey, you know what, I read the articles about C.J. Stroud and how good he is against the blitz. Like, I don't care. Mm-hmm. I'm Brian Flores.
64%.
Like,
blitz rate.
64% blitz rate, and you don't know where guys are coming from.
And it's working because the last 3 games, all 3 games, they've had at least 5 sacks in all games.
The rushers are getting home. The coverage is confusing. Why are we not calling this defense Purple Haze?
You just might have.
Because you don't know. It's hazy out there. You know what I mean?
Purple Haze.
You know that Cameron song?
Shout out to Cameron.
Or Jimi Hendrix. For most Minnesota fans, probably. But the whole thing is, like, this guy has a defense that he can say, like, yeah, CJ is one of the best young quarterbacks in the game, and he shreds the blitz, but, like, I'm going to do what I do. And I'll just say this. The team that walked in this game, they didn't have Joe Mixon. Okay, so that's a big deal. And that also tells you why I think they're going to go far this year is, like, Joe Mixon adds a different element to this offense. They didn't have him.
He's really good.
It looked different. But more than anything, I look at, like, these 2 teams walking in this game, and for good reason. D'Amico has gotten a lot of credit. Our guy from New England, Nick Caserio, has gotten a lot of credit. They've done a great job. I would say up north there's a group that's doing the same thing. And it's Kevin O'Connell, and it's Kwesi.
Yep.
And when you look at this team, Aaron Jones, big day yesterday. Yeah. Jonathan Grenard, big day yesterday.
Hat trick.
Blake Cashman, big day last week.
Camu,
that's
against
right.
his former team.
We talked about this earlier. They brought in vets, right? But also vets who have played in different systems. Right. No one said that before.
Gilly, Cashman. Who else was new on the defense? Grenard, obviously coming from Houston.
Camu.
Goal. Yeah, Camu. All these guys, these vets guys who have seen a lot of different systems. And honestly, like, what I'm wondering from you guys, obviously you're all playing on the D-line, but, seeing how well these disguises have worked for the Vikings through the first 3 weeks, why don't we see more of that around the league?
Because not everybody because not everybody has the right pieces in the room that can communicate, bringing in veterans.
Yep.
Okay? Yep. And then also not everybody has the right coach that can communicate how to disguise things and like, what are we doing pre-snap and that sort of thing. Because communication is key.
And it's communication, but it's also, on top of it, it's trust. And you have to trust that hey, even though he's showing that, like, I know he's not going there. And
right, because guys can look bad. Like, I thought you had deep third. On the fucking TV copy, they're shredding me, thinking that's where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be in the post, but I'm not. And it's not my fault. I played in the New England defense with Brian Flores. I love the guy, okay? And you could tell the Minnesota players love him too. One thing that you're going to get and this was Bill's defense, but B-Flow, I'm sure, is the same thing, is you're going to get calls right up to the time the ball snapped. So guys have to be really cerebral to play in this defense, and they have to be aware. And I could tell you sometimes my head was spinning because we got so many calls. There was a game playing the Jets where I got a late call and I dropped. And me and Matt Patricia, I joked about it with him this week. He was like, I've never dropped 9 in my life. And I think people were looking at us and like, man, nice wrinkle, Matt Patricia. But it was just me, like, not getting a call a millisecond before the snap. This is how they're going to do it there, too. And so I think, they're with the free agents they brought in, with the way they hit on the quarterback, with the coaches they have, this team is more real than not real, especially considering they didn't have Addison. And they don't even have Hawkinson. Mm-hmm. Like, I cannot wait to see this team when they get to full speed. I think Houston's going to be fine. They walked into a beehive. If Minnesota has a home game in the playoffs, they'll win it.
Yeah.
How
awesome is that atmosphere, though? Like, that's got to be the best indoor stadium in the NFL, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was rocking. Bo, there was a sequence. It was like, I think it was around the 9-minute mark of the second quarter.
They had 4 false starts in a row.
In a row.
Crazy. And you're just sitting there, you're like, this is sick. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm from Minnesota. We all know that.
We know you're from Minnesota.
Yeah, do you guys know that? Do you guys in chat know that? I'm from Minnesota. But
tell me about the
Minnesota
lakes.
fans love lamenting, Minnesota sports. And it's like, let's enjoy what we have, okay? The Vikes look great. The Timberwolves were great. Like, let's enjoy it. And I think it's really cool to see the atmosphere at US Bank.
You have no idea how the Twins are playing.
What about the Gophers?
I don't
rowing your boat. Fuck
the Gophers.
Damn.
All right?
So, anyways,
that's how I feel about that.
Listen, I thought it was awesome. Great statement from Minnesota, and then on top of it, Green Bay gets it done. And I had this game all wrong. I thought I called Matt LaFleur's bluff after. Basically, just glazing him last week,
Revenge game.
I said, there's no way that you can duplicate that when a team knows what's coming. That's why they call it a spot start. They don't call it a spot month or a spot 2 weeks. Like, Malik Willis is going to look like – here's another example of why coaching matters. Did you see the ceiling on Malik Willis in Tennessee? If he looked like he looked yesterday, how many coaches are going to scoop him up?
Man.
That's another thing. Like, at some point, you might be able to get something for this guy.
Right.
And fill in a position of need elsewhere. This guy really played well. I mean, he made some throws. Like, they asked him to do more. And over the time period of 3 weeks in the building, like, having to make a start, then a week between starts, like, this kid is doing this. And so what this does for Green Bay, who practiced Jordan Love, is like, if he's not ready this week, you do it again.
Right.
You do it again. You stole this one. And for Will Levis, who, I'd like to blame the entire game on him, the pick six, he's good for one of these a game. He doesn't have a shot because the protection's bad. And Latham, as much as we liked him for not wearing gloves and just, deuce block, king, at some point you got to drop back and pass the ball. And it was like Will Levis is a varsity blues looking ass quarterback. And I felt like yesterday Thunderstruck was playing the entire game. I mean, he just could not. There were moments late where I was like, hey, Will, because they could have made it a game. Mm-hmm. He just could not protect him. He was getting blasted. This front's really good. Halfley's got these guys rolling.
Yep.
And Green Bay, after 3 weeks, you talk about NFC elites, like, you can count them in that group for what they've done over the course of this season so far. I was very impressed with them.
Yeah. Yeah, like, how many teams can rip off back-to-back wins with a backup QB in there? And just, I mean, with Willis obviously playing another great game, going over 120 on a passer rating. Mm-hmm. You just saw them, like, be able to access the entire group of playmakers they have. Reed, Dobbs, Watson, Wicks, Manuel Wilson. Together a nice game too. It's probably the deepest collection of skilled players in the league.
I was just gonna say too, Green Bay is a great example of the reality of the NFL is you're only as good as your backups.
Yeah.
And like whether you want to think about it that way or not, we see so many great teams. If their quarterback gets hurt, it derails.
You gotta have
everything.
a plan B.
You see Miami, it's derailing everything.
Yeah.
You have to have a plan B that's gonna be able to work quick and fast, like it's happening now. Like you need to patch it up. It can get crazy.
They didn't have time.
Yep.
They didn't have time. And the other team in the NFC North is obviously the Lions, and they're the class of the NFC North. I just voted yes on can Will Levis rebound this season, but I don't know why I did that. I think I just wanted to see the comments. Will, your poll's blocking my no diddy. All right. So anyways, like, the question was, is Sam Darnold a top 10 QB with KOC? 63% of 238 people say yes. And I got to say, like, there's a couple QBs that we can say are top 10 or top 5 quarterbacks. Like, we can put them in that category. Everybody else, it depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way we should rate these guys. Are you an any-weather quarterback, or are you a quarterback that can be very good in the right situation or average in a worse situation? I think that Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, guys like that, Lamar, you could make an argument that if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, boy, some of the throws he made the other night. And if I'm forgetting your favorite player, please, I'm sorry. But I'm just saying, like, Sam Darnold can be in that next tier right there with Brock Purdy.
Yep.
Like, Brock Purdy to me is a guy that, like, he fits all the profilings of a bridge or a game manager, but he's not, because he can make plays off schedule, and he's got a really nice arm, and he's got that, like, heady instinctiveness. And I think now you're getting to see Sam Darnold in that spot where
Sam Darnold is making it look easy, Chris, and that's the thing that's been so impressive to me is, like, he wasn't in the offense until, I mean, like, he wasn't the starting QB until late in camp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's bounced around a lot. He's had blows to his confidence over the course of his early career. He steps into this situation. He's making it look easy. Like, he's ripping the ball to Justin Jefferson. And it's like, we didn't really get the chance to talk about him so much because he's so good. It's just expected.
It's boring.
The fact that he's open so much is crazy to me because, like, think about, like, okay, you talk about Bill Belichick and inside the NFL. He wants to take away your best player. That's his whole defensive mantra. Every team every week is doing their best to limit Justin Jefferson every week, and he's still getting the ball so much in critical situations and making unbelievable plays. It is wild.
You put your best guy on the 2 receiver, and then you double the 1, or you put your best guy. But there's no way he should be wrecking games this way. That speaks to how great he is. And the last thing, not for nothing, at the end of the game, KOC in the locker room throwing the game ball to Sammy D, as he calls him. I never heard him called Sammy Darnold. That when guys have nicknames like that, that's an endearment thing. Like, that locker room
goes a long way.
him. And he tossed him that game ball, and there's a picture of Justin Jefferson with his hands on Darnold's shoulder, and he's smiling so big, and he's just like, this group really likes the guy. So it's gonna be a fun race.
Do you ever think about trading McCarthy for a piece right now?
No.
To go try to win?
No. Hold on to that piece, because right now you just beat. Hold on to that piece. Hold on to that piece. You just beat the Niners and the Texans back-to-back weeks. Like, this team can win. So I like what they got. They got 2 tackles. They got a number 1 wide receiver. They have backs that can make plays. They have a quarterback that can get the ball to people. They don't even have Hawkins.
They're going into Green Bay, though. I mean, it's going to be interesting.
That's going to be awesome.
That's such a great matchup. That's the first NFL game I ever went to. It was a Monday Night Football game. The Vikings at Lambeau Field with my pops. I was like 13 years old.
Oh,
he's a Vikings fan. I was a Packers fan in Minnesota. And, like, that is, to me, like, you talk about.
Is that Brett Favre?
Conway. Brett Favre.
No way. You were that young?
Yeah, baby.
Golly, I remember watching the Saints
Franks,
Vikings
Adam
NFC
Schroeder.
Championship, like, on my first or second vacation from my NFL career. God, you were young, Bo. All right, so
youth is a state of mind, Chris.
Young ass boy. Well, the last thing is the Lions, man. Like, the Lions got back to who the Lions are yesterday. We talked about how much they were.
That game goes completely different. The Cardinals win that game if the refs don't botch.
We start that. Let's start the breakdown here, because we have tried to stay unbiased on these calls. Like, I don't want to get into it every week where we do the thing like facts was just doing with the Chiefs, or people say, oh, the Eagles got handed the game or whatever. Like, but this was a call that was a 14-point swing in a game that was 10-7 the whole way, and I don't know how you fuck that up. Like, somebody from New York has to call down and say, like, listen, the ball was snapped before 2 minutes. Like, you talk about robo chain crews. How about getting this right?
Yeah.
Because if I'm the Cardinals, I feel like I won that game.
Right.
Or at least that I should be in a position to win that game later.
Why can't we get it right? I don't understand. Like,
somebody in the chat tell me.
Just as a viewer and like as like an ex-player, like, and I'm sure the guys playing the game now, like, we want like you to get these things right, and regardless if it's bad for the team it happened to or whatever you might say, it's just it would have been the right call.
Yes. It would have been the right call.
And I feel like that's what we want across the board. So why can't they just fix this? Like, I don't understand why this, like you said, isn't something.
No, they're saying they blow the whistle dead on the field. Okay.
They did blow.
They blow the whistle. But nobody seems to me like they think that it's the play's over until the ball's picked off. And you know what I'm saying? So either way, what we should have here is an opportunity for another play. However the game ends. So you could say 14-point swing. I certainly think, like, the question is, Jared Goff's going through that play like the play's live.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can tell me the whistle blew, the whole thing, like he's throwing that ball like he's trying to convert on third down. This call is a bad call. And, like, Lions fans, you might be pissed off. I'm about to give you your flowers here because you guys got back to doing what you do. And you guys, listen, I put you in the fucking Super Bowl. You're lucky considering the way the quarterbacks played the first month of the season, okay? And we don't need to have that argument again. Revisit that one, okay? But this is one that went your way, and it's okay. It's okay. Like, I still think there's a chance you win the game, if not for that swing, but it is a 14-point swing, whistle blown or not. That ball gets off before the 2-minute warning, okay? Now, the game, the Lions ran the ball 43 times, okay? And that's what I want to see from that group. That's exactly what I want to see from that group. Yeah, the first drive.
What I want to say, like, watching these two offenses. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's kind of what I do on this show. Watching these two offenses, it's like a 2008 Ford F-150 with like 120,000 miles on it, and like versus a Maserati. Like, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. But the Ford was moving, dude, and like
was rolling,
and like, hey guys, Penne Sul. More like rigatoni, Sul, because the hole in a penne is like this big. The holes he's creating out on the field are like this big. And if you know anything about pasta, my paisans, they shouldn't be calling this guy Penne Sul. They should be calling him rigatoni Sul, because there was a run on drive one where, like, David Montgomery gets the ball and he's supposed to be cutting back, and he's like, oh, I don't even need to cut back. I could just run straight downhill. Like, the whole right side of this line has been displaced. This guy is a weapon. He's a lot of fun to watch. And, from the Cardinals' perspective, I don't like at the 40, I think 3rd and 4, they throw the ball to Wilson on an out and ends up 4th and short. I kind of like going there. I kind of like going there in a game where you're playing a team that can choke you out 8 minutes at a time. And that didn't happen. They punted the ball. They got it back. But, like, later in the game, when you're starting at the 2-yard line, the 12-yard line, the 9-yard line, the 7-yard line, and you're trying to get it back in one play, like, I think you take your opportunities and you're aggressive against this team. Third quarter was wild, like multiple 4th and 1s, multiple picks. Like, the total on this game was 51. Everybody was jumping at the over. It ended up being a defensive battle for a lot of the game, which I think from the Cardinals' standpoint was impressive. Their front's not very good. They had to move their front a lot, and uncharacteristically, they got Detroit to make a lot of mistakes up front, including a 3-man game on third down where you're like, what? Dante Stills played well. I like Dante Stills a lot. Like, there were guys that stepped
Buda
up
Baker.
for them. Buda Baker played well. We know Buda. I know Buda Baker. Okay? All right, so there are things, if you're Arizona, to be excited about, but I just think, like, 3rd and 12 with 2:20 to go, you're down 7 points. You got 1 timeout left. Detroit, who had 90-something yards in penalties, 3 of their 9 penalties, 70-something yards in penalties, 3 of their 9 penalties are on third down. They get pushed back. It's 3rd and long. Like, we said coming into this game, if you're Arizona, this is a benchmark game where you can decide who you're going to be this year. If you come out and get the doors blown off you and you're not competitive defensively, maybe it's not worth making a move. But if at some point in this game you can imagine a situation where a rusher wins and he doesn't, and Gardeck's a great rusher, and I don't know if he has DPOY odds. I saw him with a little pick on Goff yesterday, but 3rd and 12 with the game on the line, you got one timeout left. This is the game. You get the ball back, you might tie and go to overtime. You can't win. That pocket's big enough for, Jared Lorenzen, God rest his soul, to operate back there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, well,
and that's a situation where I'm like, if you're looking at that tape and you're John Gannon and you're Monty Ossenfort and you're serious about this team this year and you think you're going to be good, then I would kick the tires on Hassan Reddick, or I would kick the tires on Dexter Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there that you can take a big swing at and may be for sale. One of them is in the street right now. And
you talking about me?
Yeah, Bo. I just think there's ways that this team can take a step forward and be competitive, because yesterday it showed you that, you can play with these guys. This is a class of the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the last four standing, I think there's an opportunity for you to get better. And Michael Wilson emerged. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr., 3 weeks ago, we were analyzing his miles per hour. People were like, oh, my God, is this guy never going to catch the ball? After week one. He's getting doubled in the red zone and running away from people. Michael Wilson's emerging because he's going to get one-on-ones, and, you've got McBride. Raymond's a good blocker. You got James Conner. They are a scary group, and in the second half for Detroit, one thing you can get excited about is the secondary went and got it. Early on, they tried Arnold.
Did you see that hit from Branch on McBride?
It was huge.
From the Detroit. Dude, you ever see that MMA video of those two dudes who knock each other out at the same time?
It was huge.
That's why I felt like with that. That was one of the hardest hits I think I've ever seen.
These guys are physical, man. They really are. And adding DJ Reader, you know what happens to DJ Reader? This is what his film looks like all game.
Yeah.
Locked out.
He doesn't move. You can't move the guy. And for a front that now is down, I think Davenport went down and Barnes went down
for the year.
So there's some issues outside that could make it a lot harder on Aiden Hutchinson as the year goes on, because what Hutchinson's had, and by the way, best spin move in the NFL. Most effective spin move in the NFL. I can remember I used to hit on my spins 70% of the time. I maybe got one sack my whole career on him. He knows when to pull him out. He knows how to do it, with great technique. Well,
Chris, you might kind of comment on this. It's not he has a counterspin late at quarterback depth that's really nice, but then he also does a quick one early if he gets overset. He does it on both sides. A lot of guys spin only on
you can
only
side. Really. Most guys are left hand dominant, right hand dominant. I certainly was. Yeah. What makes Hutchinson great to me is not how dominant he is in one spot. It's that he can move around and pick his matchup, and he's a great inside rusher. You're going to need to do that, because now you're down Davenport and you're down, certain guys where it's you're not going to have runs like this every month where it's he hasn't seen a guy yet that can get close to him. I mean, it's just it's a fish market for my guy the first couple of weeks of the season.
I thought that guy Barton did pretty well against him.
He actually was pretty good for the most part, but
better than I thought he would. He wasn't School from Tampa,
Yeah, School. Well, I want to go back to School from Tampa. Baker's dropping to 11 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's not all on him, but I will say this, Hutch is a damn good player. He's going to have to do a lot on his own on the edge now. If Davenport's out, that was a good pickup for them. Laporta has a low ankle sprain. You got to clean up the penalties. Terrible penalty by Reeves-Maben before the half. That's 3 points. And then a good challenge from Dan Campbell. I thought he had a nice rebound. I thought him and Ben Johnson had nice rebound games where they just got back to what they do. And I think what's most impressive with Dan is he opted to punt in a lot of situations and pin this team back. And Kyler Murray, 2nd and 3, you don't need to throw that ball in the end zone. So he had his first game where he made some considerably bad decisions. And also, they spent the most of the second half just trying to get it back in one play. And I didn't like that. James Conner, 9 rushes for 17 yards. That's the DJ Reader effect. That's the effect of having some beef in the middle. They're not going to play a team like that every week. I think the Cardinals will be fine.
The Lions, they host the Seahawks next week.
Yeah. That's going to be an interesting. I mean, you talk about a barometer. That's the barometer for Seattle, who I don't think we know much about yet. You know, like they're 3-0. They're going to hit the win total, I pray. But I don't think they've won a game yet where I'm like, you know, this is who they are. I don't know who they are yet. The Lions game is going to tell you a lot about that.
Geno in the dome.
Geno in the dome,
and Geno with the braids,
and Geno
with the cornrows.
What's up with that, bro?
Like you said an extreme hair change sometimes is either good
or bad. Well, Geno in a dome, especially playing Detroit, like they've played in some high-scoring games down there. So you look at this game, this isn't over. Don't tell Macon and Steve. Okay, let's get to the NFC East, shall we? Our jurisdiction, the Eagles' jurisdiction.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. All right. Listen, I don't know where we start, but we start with the defense. Because if you were going to go into this game and win on the road, we said this coming out of the Atlanta game, the guys inside had to play better. And I said this coming into the game, they got to play more tight front. They got to play, zero up on the nose, 2 threes, 2 edges, build a flat wall. I don't care if they get 2 guys out in the route. Cover them. They're going to max up and take play action shots. Stop the fucking run. Because if you stop the run, I want to see Trevor Penning block people one-on-one. I want to see these guys have to match up. And they lost, I think they lost somebody early. Ruiz early, which is an issue. Yeah. So like when that happened,
no, they lost McCoy. They lost McCoy.
Yeah. McCoy. They lost McCoy.
One of the best centers in the NFL, I think.
Yeah. And that's a big deal. So as the game went on, you're kind of like you come out and the first couple drives, you can kind of tell the flavor of the game. This was another game where everybody was like, "Oh, we're betting the over." Like the Saints are going to score 50 points, and for them to come in there and stop the run, I thought Jalen Carter and the big fella.
Jordan Davis,
did a great job in the middle, and I thought you saw more guys winning rushes. And it starts with them. And BG, you still got something left in the tank, man.
He's got some juice
with the game on the line. He's still got it, and I loved. This is now my favorite thing he's ever said coming off the field. If you can find me that audio while I wax poetic about how awesome BG was and how the front, like walking off the field, BG always has a bar, and this was maybe the greatest bar that he's ever dropped. But I just thought the front played well. Guys made plays when they had to, and that's all you need. And Jalen Carter at the end of the game, you gonna play this clip real quick for me? Play the clip.
She want a big dog.
She want a big dog.
She want a big dog. I love
it. She don't want no puppy. I love this guy, dude. I love it.
How bad did you want to be in the locker room after the game with those guys, Chris, when all that was coming out?
So bad, dude.
Jim had the chain on. That's the kind of moments where you're retired, especially us because we played in Philly, where you're just like, fuck, like, yeah, that's probably nice. And
winning on the road is maybe my favorite thing in the NFL. And it's you and 52 other guys getting on a plane, going out of New Orleans, walking into that stadium. That thing is like a pit. When you walk in,
dark up high.
And they're physical and they've been kicking people's asses. This is the hottest team in football. Nobody gives you a chance. And for you to come in there and stop the run, I think that goes to show, and maybe it's a matchup thing where this works really well against New Orleans and maybe not some other teams, but when you're having trouble stopping the run, put that big guy on the center and gap that thing out. I just thought, hey, and I had a bunch of people text me like, I know you love Jalen Carter, but what's that at the end of the game? Let me say this. When there are people on the field spitting on unconscious human beings, and you know what I'm talking about, the Devontae Smith and Penning's running Slay into the bench.
Yeah.
I don't get hold on. I don't give a fuck what Jalen Carter does at the end of the game. He could have done it for 3 more minutes, flapping his gums at people, inciting people on the field, talking shit to whoever you want. Hey, hold on. It's a war. It is a war out there. And if you haven't been in a game like that, don't tell Jalen Carter to calm down, because I like it when he cares. And if that's how it manifests when this guy's locked in, then he needs to come to the stadium every week just like that. And that's what the vets are for. If he has trouble at the end of the game bottling it up and he's a little rough around the edges, that's what a guy like me's for. That's what a guy like Brandon Graham's for. Unfortunately, they only have one of them. And that's why they had to get Big Dom and those guys over there involved. Clint Hurt. But I'd rather say, I would rather say woe than sick 'em. And I am totally fine with how he showed up to go to war yesterday.
So I compare, like right now early, I compare Carter to Sue in the sense they both like are great aggressive players, but it seems like they lack emotional control at time. And I would just like ask, like, other than the vets, like what can you do to make sure that you keep this guy on the field? Because it just looks like a lot of his incidents that are going on right now, something can lead to a suspension down the road or things like that.
That what happened yesterday is not a suspension.
No,
what
I mean,
I worry about
if everyone's not there to hold him back.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know. He probably would have just kept flapping his gums. I don't know, dude. Like, here's the thing that I care more about with Jalen Carter: show up to meetings on time. Play like that every week. Play with your hair on fire. Play with that intensity because you are the type of guy. I played on fronts like this where there was a young guy. Timmy Jernigan was a big guy for me where it was like, and Bo knows what I'm talking about, like he fueled me. I wanted a guy like a guy that you want in the alley with you in a dark alley. Like I need that guy. That guy brings out the best in me, and I'm going to bring out the best in that young guy because I'm going to feed that fire, and I'm going to keep him in between the white lines. And I think that's what the fun of having a guy that I'd rather have to screw the jar on tighter, you know, and keep it bottled up than say like, hey, man, I need some aggression out of you. You know, I need some shit to you. And he's got all that, you know. So I'd rather say woe than sick 'em. Is all
I love that emotion out of the Eagles all game. But I do want to say one thing, Chris. Like, I love the adjustments that Vic made for this game. I was a little worried about the Saints' run game leading into this for the Birds, especially after the Falcons and what they did to them. But I have to take my hat off and give a shout out to the DBs for the Eagles. Like Quinyon Mitchell looks really
good. He could have had a pick six.
That's got to be. I know he could have. He was there. Like he did all the hard thing and he just batted it down. But like you see, the Saints when they get their run game going, like Rashid Shaheed, like all those really deep balls. The Birds secondary did a great job against those deep balls. And then, like, dude, we were playing with a heavy box. Like, we played with a 6-1 defense.
Yeah.
Like, those dudes are manned out there. They're manned up against some fast, speedy dudes. And, you know, earlier in the season, like, against the Cowboys, like, you see the Saints, like, chucking the ball up. And those dudes are out there on an island, and they didn't bat an eye, man. I thought they played really well. And obviously, big pick at the end from Blankenship.
Blankenship's been awesome. When he broke the team down after the game, I looked at some of the comments under like Dov Kleiman showed him. And he was like, man, I want to ride or die with this team. And like a lot of people like, get over it. You barely beat them. You suck. All this. I'm like, man, you don't know what it's like to be in an NFL locker room and go on the road and win. Like those performances are worth their weight in gold for a team like this.
Especially like, dude, Philly is an emotional city with an emotional media group and an emotional fan base. And how are you going to be overly critical of a guy who's emotional on the field?
No, he's perfect for Philly. He's perfect for Philly. Let's just keep it in the right lines. Here's what we really have to talk about. The decision making from the head coach and the quarterback are not good enough to start the season. They're not, which tells you how good this team can be. And I know it's in there with Jalen because I've seen it before, but he's got to make some better decisions in general. But more than anything, Nick's got to coach better, and I like Nick.
Do you guys hate your kicker?
Well, that's part of the conversation. We are all of a sudden
talking about my pickleball championship partner,
Jake Elliott.
Jake the Make.
Jake Elliott. How could anyone possibly hate Jake the Make?
I just want to say this.
Going for it on fourth down all the time.
I just want to, guys. I want to say this. We are not above 3 points. We, the Eagles, okay? That team cannot be above. I would buy Nick Sirianni a mirror. Look in the mirror. You know, stand there with your team and look in the mirror. Is it the Super Bowl team? Are you playing offensively like the Super Bowl team? Is A.J. Brown in the room? Is Devontae Smith on the field? You know, are two of your – is the right side of your line down? Is the score 3-0? Is your defense playing well? we are not above 3 points is what the message needs to be. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody upstairs called down and is like, hey, you are not allowed to not
look
take
at
the
it from a
points down.
game perspective, Chris. There's 14 seconds left. You have one timeout. You're going for it on 4th down. You're basically gambling 3 points versus one for sure shot, maybe 2 shots at the end zone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in the first half. You know what I'm saying? It's like, just take the points. And my dumbass drafted Jake Elliott for our fantasy league.
That's the dumbest pick
I'm
ever.
an idiot. I'm like, oh, that's my buddy. I picked him up in like the 4th round. But it's like, just from a game perspective. And then okay, the Eagles had to drive at the end of the game, and there was some great play from Goddard. Like, that was unbelievable. Some great play from Saquon.
Yeah, they got a lot of mileage out of
You have
crossers.
to go to the length of the field to get a touchdown. It's like, how good would it be to have those 3 points from the first half and know that you just have to kick a field goal here?
I mean, obviously, and I'm sure
Obviously,
his thing.
winning solves all problems, and it makes it into less of an issue than it should be. But like, that decision is crazy.
I just look at it and I'm like, hey, I'm sure he's thinking, hey, if we go up 7-3 in a game like this, the way they're playing offense, we got this thing. But like, the decisions have not worked out. And so, for those of you, and some of you might be listening, who argued with me last week when I said, hey, that's the right call, throw the ball on the edge. Like, if you're going to go for it, and you should have in that situation, because if you kick, you lose the game anyways against the Falcons. Get the ball on the edge. Saquon's got to catch the ball. There were people saying, no, run it. The 4th and 1s are automatic with this team. Are they? Are they?
Yeah, I know you saw the
I didn't like the
that
call.
1 4th down. Like, I didn't like the call either. Like, we get it. Tush push. Like, we get it.
But again, look in the mirror. This is not the same group
You
as
have the
last
best
year.
running back in the NFL.
You have the best running back in the NFL, Bo. And by the way, when he took that handoff, he crossed the line of scrimmage at the 35. I would really like to get him clocked how quickly he got from the 37 to the opposite 45. That is what makes him so dangerous. And Marshawn Lattimore cuts off any other back in the league. I don't care if it's Devin Achane, because here's the thing. Devin Achane's going to make a cut and then head down the hash. Saquon Barkley didn't even have to make a cut. You know why he didn't have to make a cut? Because the guys up front displaced the front to the point where he just ran straight downhill. And on top of it, one guy that deserves a lot of credit is Jordan Mailata. He blocked 2 people in one play. Okay, so there's not a back in the league when you pair him with the offensive line that he has that should be leaned on more heavily than Saquon Barkley. And when I watch that play, I'm like, this is who you can be. I know we can throw the ball, but every 3-yard run can turn into 70 with this guy.
Per Next Gen Stats, Saquon reached a top speed of 21.66 miles per hour on that play. Second fastest play by a ball carrier this season.
Dog. Hey,
he'll get
those commercials.
He'll get a ticket in my neighborhood.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
Football Whiz or whatever. That's Nolan for us.
No, I know, but
That's like the Whiz.
No, but seriously, it's that play right there encapsulates why you need to be giving him the ball 20 times a game, at least.
Yeah.
This guy, go watch that play. He made a cut at full speed that sat Marshawn Lattimore down. He didn't even have to slow down. He made a cut. You don't see guys making cuts without dipping below 20 miles an hour. He made a cut, and it was over.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. I said this yesterday. Build a fucking perimeter around the city and never let him out. This guy, I love him. I trust him. If I needed a babysitter, I trust him with my kids. I barely met the guy. He's a gentleman. He's a great teammate. You can tell. You hear the guys talking about him. He's just a fucking stud, dude.
Sound like the Giants owner.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, so I look at this and I say, like, this guy's got to get the ball. And a big shout out to Fred Johnson and Tyler Steen, and most importantly, my man Jeff Stoutland. One of my favorite coaches in the NFL, and if you ask offensive linemen or defensive linemen that have been in the building with him, they'll tell you there's nobody better. And for him to get these guys ready to play when Lane goes down with a concussion, when you're down a guard, it's to go on the road. If you'd have told me they were going to go, what was the thing we said? No, I gotta. This is crazy.
So Eagles 2 turnovers. You had a punt blocked, missed a field goal, and turned it over on downs twice.
Now tell me if you didn't see the game yesterday and you listed those things off, do you think the Eagles won that game on the road in New Orleans? Absolutely not. So if you're a fan and you're walking away from that game, and yes, there were things to be upset about with the head man and some decisions that the quarterback made, but he also had some really good moments.
The Eagles were realistically down their 3 best players. Like AJ Brown down, Lane Johnson down, and then Smitty ended up going down.
So this is a good win.
Ready win on the road.
We'll take these.
I mean, yes.
We'll take
Saints
these.
are good too.
Yeah. Well, they're a good team. We'll take these. And Penning, hey Penning, I haven't liked Penning, and I don't like to make things personal. I'm a D lineman, so I don't like offensive linemen. But like, I really don't like the chippy ones that like are like kind of tough guys about shit. And like, I'm sure he's a really tough kid and everything. But like, I haven't seen you block anybody in 2 years, and all of a sudden you want to drill Darius Slay into the fucking bench. Like, what are you proving? You almost lost your team the game.
Just trying to be Michael Orr so bad, dude.
I wish I still played. I wish I still played left end for the Eagles yesterday.
Why I oughta?
You know why?
Why I oughta?
You know why? So
Great
like
bull rushes.
I thought it was a big win for them, and especially as you make the turn in the 4 p.m.s, you can watch the Cowboys on the plane, and you can see for yourself why you don't have to do anything special to win this division. You have to be you. You have the best roster in the division. You don't have the best quarterback in the division right now, okay? But I'll tell you what you got. You got a lot of good players. You got an offensive line. You've got a defensive tackles. The Cowboys don't have anybody in the middle. The spine of that defense is going to keep them from getting where they want to go. Like, you can talk about the running back room, and there's a chance at some point that maybe they go out and get somebody like I talked about Jonathan Taylor earlier. Nick Chubb, that thing in Cleveland is over, bro. You start selling parts, okay?
Yeah.
The Cowboys, you can go out and grab a running back, but I'll tell you what you can't do. You know
about players' dicks on a podcast.
what? No, well, you can't. We'll save it, okay? but when you've got tackles that aren't getting it done, it's really hard to, like, defensive tackles don't grow on trees, Bo. That's why you guys are so valuable. Run stuffers and that sort of thing. Like, you know who out? Lawrence Guy was on the street and somebody went out and picked him up. I can't remember who picked up Lawrence Guy this week.
The Ravens, isn't it?
The Ravens, okay?
I think.
No,
I
it was Cincy.
Cincy, okay? And but you know, you have to make these moves where the bullets are flying, where you got to throw shit at the wall right now. Like, I don't care what you do. But the middle of that defense is a problem. And for the Ravens, they walked into this game, and I've been banging the drum all week for this Rosengarten guy, and they've been rotating him in, and he's unquestionably the better pass blocker out of him and McCarry. And I've wondered when Ben Cleveland's going to play right guard. And I think at some point this stuff might happen. But yesterday, all that the moment demanded was a guy who could block somebody in the run game, because they came out and they know what I know, which is that, like, I know who you are, Dallas. I know who you are. I watched tape. I watched you guys last year. Multiple coordinators, you still can't stop the run. Buffalo, you know, that big spot last year where they played the Bills and they're all riding high, and Buffalo's just like, you know what? Fuck it. Josh's going to throw the ball 17 times. We're going to jam it down your throat. It's the same thing with anybody that comes into that building. That used to be a scary place to play. That defense was scary at times. I don't feel like they're as physical. I feel like the linebackers are kind of lost, and the interior of that defensive line can get displaced. And now you're down a corner, and this Carson kid, they're going to try to hide him, but you can go at him. And Baltimore ran for 270 yards. 270 yards. It's over 700 feet. That's crazy.
Yep.
Like, it's that's embarrassing. Those are college numbers. My darkest days in the NFL, I don't know if we ever gave up 270 yards. And I was on some teams that were in 4 minute the entire game.
And then your defensive stars bickering on the bench, looking like they're about to fight.
Hey, listen, Tank Lawrence doesn't look like he's worried about too much,
bro. Like, and that's the scariest thing.
Tank Lawrence
when
is
you
my
see
favorite guy. Dude, I love Tank Lawrence.
When you see someone arguing and it's one person barking and one person
just
calmly, just in a ready stance, just being like inviting the drama, like, okay, do something about it.
But it's just a bad sign. It's a bad sign.
Very bad.
You walked into this game and you're like, there's two teams with their backs against the wall. Who's the team in a back against the wall spot who's going to play well? It's the Ravens. The Ravens are a serious program where it's not about the flash and flare. It's not about the personalities. It's not about any of this stuff. It's not about all the bullshit. It's about like, hey, we're going to have a game plan here where we're going to come out the first drive. We're going to be in gun, right? And I don't love the gun stuff. Henry was basically a decoy in gun. I think they were 37 times in gun. That's down like 11 snaps from last week. That's down 23 snaps from week 1. So I think they know that they're better under center and that sort of thing. But when you're in gun and you fake a toss after you've been running quarterback option and all this window dressing sideline to sideline and fucking with the linebackers, all of a sudden you fake a toss to Henry, freeze the tape. Everybody is going that way. And so like Henry can be a decoy in gun and you can still get to your bread and butter and run the football and be under center. I just thought it was a really good game plan from the Ravens. You'd like to see them put this team away. Mm-hmm. No question. I know Dak's walking out of the building. He's like, jump off if you want to jump off, you know, all that stuff. But like, as much as I respect Dak, I'm sorry, your defense and your running back room is just too pedestrian.
Yep.
And, you know, like you're living off the Cleveland game. This game should be 28-18. Flowers just couldn't feel an onside kick. You walk out of that game 28-18, are you saying jump off now? Like, it felt like the Cowboys have some false hope walking out of this game when they really got their asses kicked. Nothing about this is sustainable. The Ravens had 105 yards in penalties, and they kicked your ass. They caved you. And so, like, defensive tackles aren't falling out of the sky. Run game's been a problem for eons. You're living off the Browns.
Yeah, how about Zimmer? What do you think about Zimmer? Is he in hot water down there in Dallas?
Everybody's in hot water down there in Dallas, man. You're talking about,
except for Brandon Aubrey. He shouldn't be.
No,
the kicker.
No, he's going to be there longer than anybody.
65 yards.
He's going to be kicking the ball.
And he nailed that onside kick.
But Derrick Henry, who's like a Peterbilt that runs on avocado oil, evidently.
Oh my God,
is like
$250K in his diet. How much do you think you spent on your body? You was a person took care. More than $250K?
Yeah, because I'm not as genetically gifted as some of these guys that are spending $250K.
Because that's like what, like hyperbaric chambers and like. Because regular people to hear that number and think about like, yo, he's not spending that much money.
I spent 7 figures on my body in my career.
No. I'm talking about he's saying like in a year.
I spent more than that on my body in a season. I'm not Derrick Henry, right? But like, it's all the more reason for me to spend more money on my body. Like
Marshawn Lynch spent $250K on his body, and it was just Hennessy and Skittles.
I am but a middle-aged white man, you know, like, and that was the case for me from 28 years old on. Like when I started to lose speed, you know, and that sort of thing. Like I had to kick up the investment in my body. It's no surprise when I hear somebody like spending that much money on their body, but to the eating part of it, to be that big and like that jacked, and he doesn't eat till 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Do they walk in and feed him?
Yeah, well,
you know, like
that's the detail we need. What happens?
I'm going to tell you what happens. Harbaugh, like, he's like, everybody to their rooms, and then Henry comes out and they bring him like a live, like a capybara or something, and he's just like, I'm good. You know, like they have a feeding time with Derrick Henry, and that's it. Like he doesn't eat all day, and so it's just incredible to me. What's also incredible to me is Micah Parsons is a hell of a football player. I'll give him that. Everybody's gonna, you know, like I know down there he's not popular and the whole thing. But there was a play where Henry's out in the open field, and Henry puts his hand on Micah's face mask, and Mike is running full speed to his stiff arm side, and any other player in the NFL gets absolutely hip tossed. There was a minute there where I was like, oh my God, this isn't Josh Norman, this is Micah Parsons, and he might end up on a fucking highlight tape. And for him to get Henry down was so impressive. Another thing is Malik Hooker, it could have gone really bad for him. I just want to shout him out for actually surviving a run-in with that Peterbilt.
And Micah Parsons running like foot and foot with forcing Lamar out of bounds one play. Really impressive.
Yeah, he did. I saw that too. I mean, he's just a great football player, man. Like, but honestly, like a couple great football players doesn't make a team. You know, a team. You're only as good as your worst position group on defense, and like. If you totally leave that D tackle room to rot, or you pick Mozzie Smith and that doesn't work out, and the middle of the field is just a problem, and the linebacker, like, I can't fix that. It's going to be hard to fix this year. And Zimmer likes to play too high. Okay, like, well, you got a problem because if you haven't noticed, people are taking it from you. They're running the ball at will. And so what is he going to do? Is he going to play more single high? Is he like those guys in the back end can barely survive as it is? I don't see this getting a lot better for the defense, at least.
I agree. I have a question for you unrelated to the teams on the field for this game. I got a little bit of a bone to pick, but I want to know your opinion. What do you think of your boy Tommy B in the box? How's he calling these games?
I think he improved a lot. I think he improved a great deal. Like coming out of commercial in the second half, I didn't pay a ton of attention to him through the game. But coming out of the commercial in the second half, I thought he had a really good, kind of like monologue. And I just noticed in that moment, I'm like, he's a lot more comfortable than week one. He's just getting held to a standard of a guy who took Greg Olson's job. I mean, Greg Olson is, to me, the best, right? Like at Fox, and Tom has got a chance to be there, and it doesn't hurt that his name's Tom Brady. And I've always wanted to hear what Tom had to say in real time. So, you can say he's slow coming.
We're not in Foxborough anymore. Like, come on, let's get something. Let's have some fun up here.
Give him some time. You know what I'm saying? Like, just give him some time. The Giants, man, I played this game. I played the Giants. I had a parlay. I had a money line parlay, Giants and Panthers, bro. So things are good. But, like, when I saw the start the Giants had, it was like fumble on the kickoff return and then an absolute dime from Watson. I'm like, I'm going to be eating my words, and I'm going to be hemorrhaging cash today. With Burns bearing down on him, if you'd have told me the game was going to end differently, I was shocked. And I got to say, I didn't watch too much of this game. But I
watched it.
I know enough to know Cleveland through 3 weeks, EPA per drop back, worse than any first 3 games of an NFL season in Cleveland since 2000. There's
game miss.
So for those of you last week,
Deshaun played well. Deshaun Watson played well. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I watched this whole game. The Giants.
I gotta pee while you glaze Deshaun. I gotta pee. You guys take it away.
Get me in the parlor. Sometimes I forget that we're live. So like Chris was saying, they had a strong start, and it's like they first play of the game, he threw a dime to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper looked great. I was not torqued to watch this game. Like Nate, remember how we had torque talk on Paxton the King?
Yep.
I was 0 out of 10 torqued about the Giants and the Browns game, but I went and watched it, and Sexy Dexy and the Giants defense and their defensive line got me torqued. Like, they played really well. Like, I got to find Dexter's stat line. I think he had 2 sacks, 6 pressures, and a tackle, or something. 3 tackles, 2 sacks, 6 pressures, something like that.
Cleveland did lose 3 guys on their O-line. That's never good.
I was just about to say that.
That's never good in the game for chemistry or anything. And obviously, for a D-line, that's kind of when you got to eat.
Well, that was why I thought the Giants would hang in.
9 different dudes. Like, they were terrorizing Deshaun Watson when he was down, like, his lineman. I kind of thought that going into the season, the Browns would have a decent offensive line. But, like, the amount of pressure that the Giants were able to
well, they're not running their offense. They're not running Kevin Stefanski's offense, and that's part of the reason.
Because their run game was weak. Like, they got behind a little bit, but they started strong. But the Giants look pretty good. I mean, I've been critical of the Giants just like everybody else in the NFL sphere.
This is just, it was such
Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors had some great connections.
Neighbors is going to save Daniel Jones' job.
Well, that's the funniest thing I read all weekend was there was a tweet where the guy was like, I'm really worried that Neighbors is so good that Daniel Jones is going to keep his job.
Oh, no,
what you just said.
No, like 1,000%. And if Daniel Jones is smart, he's going to turn into one of those quarterbacks that's just my icon. I'm keyed in only on Neighbors.
He had that
because neighborhood watch.
Neighborhood watch. Every single series, neighborhood watch for you, Daniel Jones, if you want to keep your job.
He had that pass yesterday that should have been an interception, but Neighbors is so good. He snatched it and made it a 25-yard.
He lost it right over him.
Yeah.
And then he had a 6 snag like 2 plays later or something like that.
Literally saving
the end zone.
He's saving you from yourself, Daniel Jones.
Really good, man.
So we don't have to spend too much time on this game, but I think the highlight of the game for me, total was 39. Now I gave it out, and through most of the game, this looks like it's going to happen, and I bet it. And end of the game, Singletary breaks off a long run, and it's 22-17.
Yeah.
Imagine if
20,
imagine if he had
40
or
39 and a half, whatever it was.
If he'd have mob
Locker
Brash
room
showed
guy
you,
right there.
imagine if he'd have mob Brash showed you. You remember that?
What did he do?
He tried to do the same thing, but like when he stopped,
And he fell in the end
his
zone.
momentum.
Todd
tipped
Gurley
him-
had one of those moments,
tipped him
too.
over into the end
Bro,
zone.
I could have hugged the guy. I
He
could have hugged
understood
the
the
guy,
assignment.
dude. He understood the
He understood
assignment.
the assignment.
Totally. Took 3 knees and the ball game's over. I was screaming. Look at this. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, my God. I hate myself. This guy's hurting my family. Oh, that's my best
screaming
friend.
for the exact opposite.
What a
reason.
guy.
Were you
Locker
really?
room guy. First guy. Good for him.
Slide heard around the world. Okay.
Hey, want to know one of the top things from this game for me?
Mm-hmm.
The Giants' celebrations on defense were on point, dude. Like they had some sick sack celebrations.
What was your favorite?
They got in a circle and were rolling dice.
Oh, that's
one of them.
I like that.
Brian Burns threw the ball up like a grenade, and they all circled around, and then it dropped, and it was so good, man. The Giants defense had a great.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. A grenade.
It looked fun, man. It was sweet. All right.
Wait,
Pick it
they're
up.
finding
That's
people
fun,
for the
man.
arrow, but
Yeah.
you can blow
Malik
up a
Neighbors
whole
did a gun
platoon.
too.
Oh,
and
yeah,
one of the
they're
linemen threw it
explosive.
What's
hands
next?
down.
Malik Neighbors, he had the gas.
He was
dude.
spraying.
Was he shooting?
I'm trying to cape for him, and I'm saying that
You're pulling a Raheem Morris.
I'm caping for him. I'm saying he's shooting the
Drake London.
t-shirt. It's the t-shirt gun.
That was
Yeah,
just
The
like,
stadiums.
For sure.
Great coach.
I'm sure he's a great guy, but T-shirt gun doesn't go.
Some places it does.
Semi-autos
Some
do.
places it does.
Yeah.
And one thing to watch for Cleveland, Myles Garrett did leave with an injury. Doesn't look good.
And with that injury, thinking ahead next week, what does a loss in Vegas do for Cleveland? Season over.
They're playing. They're a loss in Vegas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like you can. Hey, listen, I don't want to play the game. If they lose this game, the season's over. Like they're just not a great team, and Deshaun is running an offense that this guy, who I think is a really good play caller, doesn't even prefer. And you've made your bed, now you're sleeping in it, and he doesn't look like the same guy. If you're telling me he looks like the same guy in Houston, great. But anything short of that, you're not going to win this argument. Like, that's who you paid for. You paid for the guy in Houston. The guy in Cleveland, even if you make him into a serviceable guy, like, come on.
No, this damn. We missed the old Kanye.
Yeah, we missed the old Kanye. I do miss the old Kanye. All right, so
The Steelers are 3-0 off to their best defensive start in 50 years.
Ha!
dude,
Yeah.
I'm still right. My conspiracy theory:
that the Harbaughs can't win the same week. That's very adept of you.
brothers cannot win in the same week. If one wins, the other one has to lose.
Here's what I love: 31 carries, 114 yards. They averaged 3.7 a pop, but they had patience and they were physical. I mean, and you want to hang your hat on something like, and they have yet to play a team that they have to get out of their identity.
Right.
Like, and I don't know when that team comes up, but this defensive backfield is better than it was last year. So I don't think like you play a team where they air it out and they got better quarterback all of a sudden. Like Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. He's playing on a high ankle. Tried to gut it out, had to eventually leave. Taylor Heineke comes in. I just think this is, again, like an identity-affirming game for Pittsburgh. It's like, hey, everything we've done has been intentional, from drafting Broderick Jones to, drafting another tackle to, putting Najee Harris in a position where he can bludgeon you over 60 minutes. Like, just say, hey, we're going to give you the ball a bunch, man. Like, and after a while, they're going to tap out. I think that's eventually what they did. And, like, bringing in Justin Fields was intentional. I don't know if they thought he'd play this early in the season, but I've been banging this drum. He's perfect for what you want to do. And I think if you look at the throws he made, I've never met the kid. I was so damn happy for him, because last year in Chicago, in one of the toughest football cities in America, from a media attention standpoint, from a thirst to win standpoint, like, he just was not the benefactor of a great system. Mm-hmm. Throughout his whole career, he has not had a good group around him. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, this rookie's going to come in and he's going to take this thing over, and it's going to be obvious why you sent him out of town. Well, Justin Fields is at the very least ready to contribute in an offense that fits him right now. And the balls he's throwing the one that ended up in a pick was kind of a bad decision. But like he had to do a little bit more this week in some spots, and I thought every throw so far this year, for the most part, that he's had to make down the field is on target, and it confirms.
Is that sustainable for Justin Fields though?
Yes, because all of a sudden he's got a coordinator that can coach him into knowing when to pick his spots. I really think having a guy like Arthur Smith, having a teacher, like it's hard enough to be an NFL player. I couldn't even imagine being a quarterback and not liking your coach. When I've had some D-line coaches, I was like, they're not adding anything. You know, like nobody in this room is getting coached up any better. Like these young guys are not learning anything. But on the defensive line, you can get away with it. Those issues are not, you know, under a microscope. All of a sudden, he's got a real offensive coordinator and a guy who probably sits with him after the game and is like, this is a ball we're going to throw. This is when you're going to eat a sack. And I got no problem with you sitting down in the pocket and taking one or throwing the ball away. You know, you don't have to be the number one pick anymore. You just be you. And I think that's freeing for this guy, and I'm very happy for him.
And it has to feel good knowing, playing quarterback, that I can score realistically 2 touchdowns, and my defense realistically can win that game for me. The Pittsburgh defense over 3 weeks only has given up 26 points, the most in a game, 10 points as of right now.
Yep.
So just as a quarterback, having that cushion, like – That has to feel good also.
Steelers undefeated. Let's check their schedule out.
It gets hard.
Wait to
talking about
I know it does. I know it does. But let's just do this. I mean, they're going to play the Colts next week. That's a really good matchup for them. Like, tremendous
They're gonna
matchup.
have 4 picks.
I want to bet it right now. They're going to play the Cowboys. Hey, good luck, Dallas. Good luck.
Where's it at? Where's it at, that game?
It's in Pittsburgh.
Oh.
Okay, they're going to play the Raiders. You should be able to win that game. There's not a team. There's a few teams that I'm like, oh, that's a tough matchup. The Ravens, the Bengals, they're tough matchups, but they're division opponents. Cleveland, same thing. When they get to play the Chiefs and the Eagles late in the season, these are games that I'm like, these are tough. But I'm looking at their schedule. I know it gets tougher, but this team is a playoff team if they keep doing what they do.
1.5 favorites on the road at Indy this week.
It might be fool's gold. I don't think so, though. I'm not saying they're going to win the damn Super Bowl, but they have gotten better somehow from last year. And I think it starts with having a quarterback that you're excited about. That really is a differentiating factor.
Tomlin, baby.
I know we love Jim Harbaugh, but did he make a mistake starting Herbert in this game, who re-aggravated the injured leg that might put his status in jeopardy for the Chiefs game?
I think it might, in a game where you're going to hand the ball off a bunch and, like, you got Taylor Heineke. Like, listen, I didn't stand on the table before the game, so I can't sit here all outraged. But I've had a high ankle. It's bad. I played on it. I've shot it up. Like, these things, it feels like your foot is broken. Like every time you step, it's like a lightning bolt, shooting up your leg. And, I've been in these situations. I don't know how high his high ankle is. Like, they kind of go off of how many centimeters up the tear is, because it's really like a little tear in that tendon. You can re-aggravate it. You can make it worse. And I think another thing is Justin Herbert, who's very athletic, they got to be careful with him over time playing on this thing, because I'm going to tell you what. I played on a high ankle my contract year, had to do it, went out and got 13 of them things, got paid, but I was never the same. Now, for a couple years, I was still really good, but I was never the same burning the edge. I was never the same. Like, my ankle flexion now is not the same. And that just comes from playing on it and the scar tissue that builds up and the lack of mobility you end up with. So I'm not a quarterback. I don't know what that's like, but I do think you got to be careful with him. And I think maybe there is some credence to the thought process that they should have trotted out Taylor Heineke, not to second
I
guess.
think Herbert is the kind of guy, though, where he was probably in Harbaugh's ear talking about how bad he wanted to play. And, I mean, you can't fault a guy for trying to play through injury.
I know, but it is the coach's job. It is
just to hold those guys back, to take the long approach, take that view.
It's easy for me to say on Monday.
Hindsight is 2020.
Harbaugh did say when he saw like when there was that one bad hit, he took him out immediately. He's like, when I saw Justin feeling it, he's out of the game.
And good, and totally good. I'm just saying, like, it is something that you have to be careful with. And I can remember being an example. I had ankle surgery, and I had no business playing. But I was a month early trying to play and flying out, play the Chargers. I'll never forget hobbling up to first class, sitting next to Jeff Fisher and being like, hey, I need to play. Let me play. Let me play. I was like, I wouldn't get up until he told me I could play. And we sat there for 20 minutes and he was just like, no, you're not playing. You're not ready to play. I see you walking around the facility like you can barely walk. So it is the job of the coach in certain circumstances to protect the player. And I think going forward, they just need to be careful because this team is good enough to compete, but you're not going to be good enough to compete if Taylor Heineke's your guy in December. We've seen these things get worse.
I love this brand of football that was played during this game, though. Like it was physical, man. It was fun. It was fun to watch. And I want to do. Nate was talking about, the Steelers defense earlier. I've been talking a lot about Wisconsin linebackers. Had a great game. Came in for Highsmith.
Herbie's a dog.
There's a pair of pretty good rushers there from Wisconsin that are in Pittsburgh, but like he had 4 pressures, 2 sacks on 8 pass rush reps. That's basically, you're winning over half of your pass rush reps as a backup. So want to give Herbig some love. He's a good dude. He's a good athlete, man.
And I can't wait to dig into the TJ Watt, Joe Alt matchup, like on all 22. Yeah. TJ got him late, but like this guy's been really good.
He got him. I mean, it was good. It was the first real opponent that I feel like Alt has faced his rookie season. And I'm going to dig a little bit more into that one as well, Gross.
Somebody said, which week do we find out if this is real gold or fool's gold? I think in general, it's hard to say early in the season. It's not just one opponent. It's just you've got to see a sample size of games. And the game changes as we get into October and November. Like Bill used to say, the season doesn't start till after Thanksgiving. And now I'm busting his balls on set being like, Coach, why'd you have us doing anything before Thanksgiving? Like, fuck, that seemed like a lot. I didn't know it didn't count. But it's true. Like teams figure out who they are as the season goes on. It's going to get a lot more. The F word counter is just out of control. 22-4. Okay. Wonder what highlight Bo's going to get today. Hey, well, let's move on from this game. There's some teams out west that we haven't given any attention to. The biggest probably statement was the Rams finding a way to win. Kudos to the Rams, man, and Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. It's like you can't kill these guys. They really are. They're going to go out together like Bonnie and Clyde, these two. Because there's no business that this team has winning this game. I mean, just organizationally, hats off to the Rams. Because you're down all these offensive linemen, you're down receivers, you're down – I mean, it's the walking wounded. And with the Niners, you've kind of gotten accustomed to them figuring it out. I mean, like you can't do Debo, Trent, and McCaffrey down at the same time. You can't go through what you went through last year.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about last year when they dropped that game to Minnesota and they looked like shit against Cincinnati. Like they're going to have those spells, but for the most part, they should be able to overcome the loss of one or even two of these guys because of the quality of their roster. The fact that the Rams were able to move the ball, I think, is the biggest troubling thing if you're a Niners fan, where it's like, damn, these guys really moved the ball on us with a bunch of backup offensive linemen and guys outside that they're not throwing to most of the time. So I'm so impressed with them. And the Niners, this is a tough one. When we said coming in this season, I picked the Seahawks to win the West. Okay, I'm still not feeling good about that. But I picked them to win the West based on a regression. And the regression for me is when you have a camp like San Francisco had, I don't care how good they looked week one, they've had some injuries. Christian McCaffrey thing is starting to be an issue. There were a lot of people week one that was like, don't be sensationalist about this thing. He's always had Achilles tendonitis.
You see the newest
What is
thing?
the newest thing?
Someone took a picture of him at the airport.
In a boot.
No, he's heading to Germany.
Getting some stem cell.
Yeah,
that's the assumption.
And that can help, but like just the fact that he's going there, and maybe he does this every year, but you worry about them without McCaffrey. It's easy to put in Jordan Mason, against the Jets who couldn't stop a cold, but like if you're going to do this over and over again, and then you're going to lose Kittle, the other guys that they have down, it's just Trent Williams went down in the fourth quarter for a second. I know he re-entered the game, but like if you lose that guy at some point, I'm not saying it's over for them. They're a damn good football team. They got a damn good quarterback, but there's a lot of injuries that pile up for this team. And also, you haven't even seen Pearsall play. Ayuk doesn't look right. Like he just has not found his way yet.
Drops.
They don't.
Jennings though.
Jennings.
Jennings look great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's interesting because these are two. I'm a little disappointed because I feel like the NFC West is a great division on paper, and I feel like we've been robbed of like some really good football, offensively especially, just because of these frustrating injuries.
Yeah.
You know, but like this ended up being a good game, man. But like you said it, you feel like Stafford is just like the grittiness, the toughness from him, just figuring out how to get it done. Like these kind of wins earlier in the season are going to pay dividends for the Rams later in the season when hopefully they get healthier.
And McVay willing to change his system. Like he went 12 personnel almost 50% of the time,
which is
they never do really.
And you know,
yeah, but they still ran their same offense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
which is so impressive to me.
Well, what's
like,
impressive about
like,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry about
like I'm just saying like you have like your versatile pieces and Cooper and Puka Nacua, who's like, dude, Chris, how good of a guy is he?
He's just a fucking mensch, dude. I just wanted to play football on his team when we met him.
Dude, I just want to hang out with him. But
he's the man.
You have those guys that are down, and then you plug in your tight ends in very similar roles. It's super impressive coaching. And like kind of what I said a couple of weeks ago when they're playing the Lions on Sunday Night Football, the fact that they're still running their offense just with like a plug and play kind of roster, you know what I mean, is really impressive to me. It just shows me that like everyone's bought into their offensive scheme.
They did a great job changing their offense from when Todd Gurley was the guy. They got to the same kind of rhythm with a different running back last year and a different kind of system, different play action off of the run game, different run schemes. Like Todd Gurley was different, right? So I think McVay's always been good at hitting the curveball. I just didn't know that he'd be able to pull this off. And for the Niners, you think you're a shoo-in to win the division, and there's still reason to believe that they're by far the best team in the division. But if they're not at full strength and, you're replacing different guys week to week, all of a sudden you got 2 games left against the Cardinals. Well, those games look like gimmies on paper, but now this team's kind of fun. And then Seattle, like, I don't know. They've had Seattle's number in spots, like, but right now nothing looks automatic. And the Rams, you just lost to them. So all of a sudden you're fighting for your life to make sure that you win the division. You're 1-2. That's just not how you draw it up coming out of the gate. And there's a lot of question marks still. I'm not a Niners hater. If you have any kind of long-term memory, I'm the guy the last few years that put them right where they were when people were writing them off. But it's time at this point to at least wonder about selling high. Like, I'm not saying they need to sell, but as an analyst, I looked at them coming in and I'm like, it just feels like, man, for them to do this year. And it's also so tiring to be them. Like it's so tiresome to get there, whether it was Jimmy G or Brock Purdy, and like you're playing these full seasons without the payoff. And so keeping guys locked in, keeping them healthy. They've played a lot more games than anybody else in the division over the past 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. If you add them up, they played almost a full season compared to other teams in their division. So this team is aging quicker than other teams are. Mm-hmm. The Patriots always impressed me because they were able to stick the landing and guys played so much extra football. But now, like, the Niners have to, like, this is the hard part of getting there and staying there. This is tough sledding. And, hey, great coaches in both these organizations. They'll both figure it out. But this is a tough loss for them because just for the simple fact of the math, you need them all if you want to get home field, if you want to win the division, which looks tougher.
And it's the 5th time Shanahan has dropped a 10-point lead in the 4th quarter, and 2 of those were in the Super Bowl. Like, they also could have won the game if Moody just makes that field goal.
No question.
Which was a 3rd-round draft.
Yeah, you drafted the guy, and it's been a couple times now where it's like, hey, you drafted the guy. Ugh. So, anyways, I hope you don't think we're being unfair to the Niners fans in the chat. But anyways, somebody said I never saw Purdy take over a game. I just want to defend him. I think he's a good quarterback, man. I think he's really good, and he impresses me when people are down, like some of the things he's able to do, but
he's just not going to get Employee of the Month this month.
Somebody said the 49ers are in the same boat as the Cowboys. Nah. I don't think that's true. I think the one team's a total pretender, and then the other team, if they're healthy, is scary, but they are not healthy. So we don't say we didn't talk about the teams out west. We also got Seattle, who early on in this game, and you guys watched it closer than me, but to me, they dictated the terms of the game by jumping these guys and getting the lead, and then they obliterated Skylar Thompson.
Another game too.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was I'll credit it to the 12s maybe being so loud.
Yeah.
But the refs had a lot of fuck ups in this game also, where a play happens where it looks like some people think the play is dead, but the play overall looks like it was alive, and the quarterback stopped. A few refs stopped the play, but the DN hits Thompson, and the coach of the Dolphins is going hysterical on the sideline because he's just like, "What the hell is going on? Was this play dead or not? If the play's dead, why is my quarterback getting crushed?"
Yeah, McDaniel looks like somebody lost a kilo of Coke.
Because it's like, seriously, that's seriously the reaction.
I mean, it was like Miami Vice out there.
But you know, in the NFL, getting your quarterback hurt is worth more than losing a key of Coke.
Yeah, actually it is.
For a head coach. Like, for sure it is.
Actually it is, Nate.
Like, and he's already done it, and he's on his second guy now. So.
But the thing I worry about with the Dolphins is, like, you come into this game, Huntley's not up. Like, I think Huntley's a guy who can give you some good quality snaps. Like, I wouldn't be going forward with Skylar Thompson. Like, I don't care if, you know, he put up some offense one time against the Bills or, like, whatever. This guy, you know who he is. There are some guys that have not played football for this Miami offense before, and I'd like to see them play football for this Miami offense. Now, I don't know who those trade partners would be. I don't know who the guys on the street are, but there's one guy in the building in Huntley who I like. And, you know, if Mostert's down, and one of the biggest concerns I have about this team is, like, Mostert has not started the year looking exactly the same, and the injuries have piled up. But
the Dolphins haven't looked the way that I think anyone's expected. And a lot of that has to do, like, dude, just think about how demoralizing it is to go into a tough place to play like Seattle. I've played there probably like 5 times. It's one of my favorite places to play because it's an unbelievable atmosphere.
It's amazing.
Think about how emotional that team is, how low morale is going into that tough atmosphere with everything that happened with Tua, man. I feel like it just gives you this kind of, I don't know. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's a bad vibe. The vibe,
like a little bit of a hangover. Yeah.
Is there a worse? And it's a long. It's 10 days after that bad game where you're like, I know you need the extra time. Like, it's a mini bye and you can get Skylar ready. But sometimes after you lose a game like that, you want to get right back out there. And it's a long time and it's a long trip. And Miami, you know, I feel like they've played undisciplined. And to go up somewhere like that, down your starting quarterback, and it's so loud you can't hear, and they always get a little home cooking up there. I can remember, like, multiple times where – and they were wars when we played the Seahawks. Like, the Rams and the Seahawks, back when we played, it was, like, chippy as fuck. There were flags everywhere. But they were all on us. It was like the guys were afraid of the 12s. And I remember one time looking at Pete Carroll. He's chewing the fuck out of his gum. He's like – and I'm looking at him like, you guys are so lucky, like, from 7 yards away. I'm like, I cannot believe y'all's luck. And he just goes –
Okay, but Chris,
and that's kind of what playing in Seattle is like. It's like every break goes their way.
Are good though,
huh?
Dude, the Seahawks are good.
I agree. You're telling me I picked them to win the West,
dude. I mean, I picked McDonald to be the coach of the year. I'm pumped about what I've been seeing from him so far. Like, Miami is kind of missing their identity right now with Tua's injury. I think that's an unfortunate situation, but that's the reality of it.
Is that an indictment on McDaniel? Like, if you look at LaFleur, he's able to get Willis ready in 1 week.
They
had a totally different game plan.
I do think hold on a second. I do think you're onto something here because I'm a big fan of Mike McDaniel. I think he has done a good job in spots. But the issue I've always had with Miami is they have an embarrassment of riches. Over this window, they've had an embarrassment of riches. And whether Tua's the quarterback and they average 17 points a game against playoff teams, or the big moments where they're undisciplined, or, you know, the issues up front.
You're not built the way the Packers are, though. You can't compare apples to oranges, man. Like, they're a big play team. I don't think that they can just
build the offensive line better so you can actually, like, like if you're not physical,
They're going to go into Seattle and get a win. They need to like rip a 71-yard touchdown to Tyreek Hill, like what Seattle did.
To your point, like you said, without Raheem Mostert, like that threat, that threat of a running back running downhill at you, you can clearly see in this game, Seattle,
like
they were not going for play fakes and play action. And they were able to run downhill. They were stuffing the box.
Well, they got the guys outside where they can load the box. They got the guys outside, but even with Tyreek Hill, usually like that threat will slow you down a little bit. In this game, they weren't doing that. I just think there's a lot of Miami fans, and we have had it out over the past couple of years. And I hope you know this. Like I hope Tua's okay. Like if you heard me talk about him after that I was shook by seeing him down on the field like that. I don't care if I've said he's not
traveling.
I don't know. Probably not.
No,
but here's the problem. It is you guys think this window's never ending. Because Tyreek's fast. He's never going to stop being fast. Waddle's fast. He's never going to stop being fast. The Mostert's fast. Achan's fast. They're always going to be fast. Like we'll just get another run at it next year. But like you can see that like windows close, and the defense got worse, and the window looks like it's like doing this. And now you've got a quarterback who you owe a lot of money, and I'm not sure when he's going to play football again. What does the future of this franchise look like? And I'm not taking any enjoyment in this. I'm not taking a victory lap. Like for those guys, it sucks because maybe they're trading for Malik Willis, right? There you go, Bo. He might be the one guy.
I would.
But they're not disciplined enough, and they're not healthy right now.
But I do. Okay, I agree with you, Chris. But I want to give the Seahawks some love because they have a good game plan. I like where they're at, man. Like Geno Smith, he had 2 picks. Both of them came, like the first one was he's trying to get rid of a ball and it got kind of like tipped by the receiver in the red zone.
Yeah.
The other one was it was kind of a very similar situation, like 3rd and long. He's chucking a ball, it gets tipped perfectly, it gets picked by Sealer, which like you love to see a D lineman get.
Sealer's the man. Big Steelers
he's the
fans
man.
here.
Like the Seahawks are doing a good job of like playing football with their identity with a defensive head coach. Like I think they're a really good team in the NFC West, man. I think they're going to surprise. Like I'm excited to see the battles between them and the Rams and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Getting at because they're built differently than those 3 other teams.
Me too. No question. And I just think it's a great job by a defensive head coach to say, like you could imagine a defensive coach coming to this game and saying, we're going to run the ball and we're going to play possession football and we're going to we're just going to – they came out and they were aggressive early and they said, like, listen, if we get these guys down 10 points, it's fucking curtains.
And it's impressive because Leonard Williams and Brian Murphy, they didn't play the whole entire second half.
Yeah.
They still were. Yeah.
Team's got a chance. Team's got a chance to be pretty good.
And you know about defense that swarm to the ball, they usually like luck falls in their favor. You get interceptions. You pick up fumbles. You cause fumbles. And this team and this defense, the way they swarm.
Maffe's great. I love Maffe.
They were brutalizing Thompson, dude. Like they kept showing some of these hits, and like there were 3 or 4 of them when you were watching them at home. You're just like, ooh, like that rib shot he took, man.
Let's
but
get
that's
to
what you're supposed to do with a backup quarterback, right?
No question. I mean, you got to make him. You got to
make him pay.
I want you to be sorry you were born, bro.
Yep.
Like, it's just you got to have a day like that. And when he hit the turf late in that game, I was like, yep. I mean, they knew the assignment.
You knew it was bad. He kind of rolled over and like started to get up, and you could just hear him. Like, you know, when you got an old man standing up, he's been sitting down for. I was like, oh, like you could literally just hear Thompson getting up.
I'm surprised we didn't see Tim Boyle. I'm surprised we didn't see Tim Boyle. Did we see Tim Boyle? We saw Tim Boyle. That's when I turned the game off. I was like, this thing is fucking. This thing is.
It got to the point you don't want to wish for someone getting hurt, but it was to the point they kept teasing, showing Huntley, and it's like, oh, maybe Boyle can turn his ankle, something low where he can get out of this game, and we can see a little flash of what that team will look like with Huntley.
Guys, Bo, I'm going to let you take this thing away in a second, but a couple things on your Bucks. Super stat. This is from Reddit, Bucks Reddit. Super sad stat of the day. I wish I had read this before I threw them into a money line parlay. Sean Payton after today is 9-0 against Todd Bowles in the regular season. And
that goes back through the Brady days too. Like,
yeah,
dude,
it's not
he's
good.
Always had the Bucks number.
Yeah, and I'll never forget, and I should have remembered, like, the biggest L I ever took was Chase Long putting a Kia on the fucking Bucks money line against the Saints. I'm like, they got Tom Brady. That's how this thing's been going.
That ended up being like a 6-0 win for the Saints or something like that.
It was something like that. And so, anyways, I look at this game and I say, like, listen, this isn't a death sentence for the Bucks. They're banged up front. Okay, like they're missing a tackle, and more than anything, they're missing probably the heartbeat of their defense and Vita Vea, and Cansey's down. And so, like, Denver came in here, and a lot of people said this was the trendiest dog to bet, and I just couldn't quite see it. This has got to be exciting for you, Cowboy Reed.
For
Those
me.
hit-
For me.
Yeah.
One win closer, baby.
Hey,
Let's
Bo
go.
Nix, he pretty solid yesterday. Vita Vea is, you mentioned is that was the reason we were able to run the ball a good bit because he wasn't there. But Bo Nix, man, Bo Nix.
But good news, bad news for the Bucks. Good news,
there's a
bad
lot
for
of
the.
reasons.
Here's the good news for the Bucks. Bucky Irving is a guy, and his name is Buck.
He's
Bucky.
a beast.
He's
He
a
needs
guy.
that marketing deal ASAP.
Bucky's.
Bucky's need to hit him up ASAP.
So they'll be okay. What'd you think, Bo?
Honestly, I was surprised at how comfortable Bo Nix looked early in the game. Like, he was doing well with his feet. He was making good decisions with the ball. Like, he seemed a lot more poised it was really the first time during this season so far. Granted, it's been, 3 games where you're like, okay, like Broncos might be onto something here, but there's a lot of reasons for that. Like, you talked about the injuries, like they're down Winfield, Vita, Cansey on their O-line. They're down their right tackle, Gedeke, who's been playing well. Like,
Look, that
there's
play
a lot
was a
of
killer. That play was a fucking nail in the coffin.
Oh,
And just
the
like
missed sack by
being able to
Kelly.
feel the
Like,
rush
nothing.
like that,
Yeah.
being able to feel the rush.
no,
like that is
Bo
crazy.
Nix played with a lot of juice, man. He looked good, but he was also dishing the ball well, like good timing. Like the Bucks did not get much of a pass rush at all. I don't think there was any interior pressure allowed by the Broncos, like
Middle
guys
three,
on the
yep.
inside of their offensive line.
Yep.
Yeah, which was nice, but like there's a variety of issues with the Bucks. I also like offensively, they just could not get into a rhythm. A big part of that was like Baker tried to throw he tried to force a ball into Mike in double coverage. It was a really good play. I can't remember who it was.
Brandon Jones.
Well, you heard what he
talked
said. If
about
they're not
going-
double covering, I'm throwing it to him. But I guess also sometimes if they're double covered.
But then like Surtain played really well. Mike had 2 receptions, I think, for 13 yards.
I thought he'd get the better of him.
Yeah, so did I. Like, Mike plays well against good defensive backs, but they did a really good job of blanketing Mike, keeping him from being a threat. Chris had a great game. But
Rod God?
basically,
Rod Godwin.
God. Basically, the Bucks got down early and couldn't really get like sustained drives. They weren't great on third down, and then the Broncos they played well. I mean, Cowboy, they played good. They look good, man. You got to be happy about it.
Oh yeah, I was stoked. We were making it easy on Bo Nix. There was a lot of outs. He threw it to the sidelines a lot. Cortland Sutton would run little, comebacks right at him. And the running game, finally, like Tyler Bidet, badass dude, finally ripped off a run. That was sick to see. And the defense,
Bidet was looking clean out there.
Oh, he was clean.
Third downs. I don't know what
but
the
yeah,
third downs end up for the Bucks, but they were not good on third down. They couldn't protect, and the Bucks just heated them up, dude. Or the Broncos.
Bo Nix looked mobile as hell. Like, he had a nice
For an old guy, the way he's
4 of
moving around.
13.
Yeah, he's like 35 years old, man.
Yeah, guy's got like a family.
He's in college for 9 years. He's not even Mormon.
So, anyways, let's
Got one more game. The Panthers with their new quarterback Andy Dalton.
You thought we weren't going to talk about your team. You thought we were going to not talk about the Panthers. You thought. Let me ask you this question. It has nothing to do with football. Name a cooler looking redhead American male than Andy Dalton. Your kid comes out with red hair. You're thinking he's going to look like Ed Sheeran. He looks like Andy Dalton. He's the coolest looking fucking guy with red hair in America. Like,
I don't know a lot of redheads.
Okay, so kudos to his barber, and because this guy looks so cool out there. And you know, it's also the typical glow up of a guy that was drafted in the late aughts, like where nobody looked cool. We all look stupid. You know, like we all just look fucking stupid walking across the stage, bad haircuts, the whole thing. He's glowing up. And honestly, he looked pretty damn comfortable in Dave Canales' offense. And that does not negate what people were saying about Bryce Young. Here's the problem with the Bryce Young thing. I got no problem with him sitting the entire season if that's what it's going to be. But do that 2 weeks ago, because the delta between the player of your team with Bryce and Andy, you could have spared Bryce the embarrassment of running out there for 2 weeks. Like, aren't you playing the long game with your draft pick? You know, like I would have, if this is what Andy was going to look like, said, hey, Bryce, let's give you a mulligan. Let's give you a red shirt. Let's give you some time. Instead of throwing him out there and looking like he looked the first 2 weeks, doesn't that say, like, you knew how bad he was going to look? There's no way he looked good in camp and then looked like that the first 2 weeks. Dalton looked pretty good.
Looked great.
And so credit to this team, because a lot of people, and I don't want to be misunderstood when I say this, I bet this team, so I don't think they're trash. But I think it's been a trash kind of process where it's like, you know, Tepper is constantly cycling through coaches. Hopefully he found a good one here in Canales. But maybe you could have handled the Bryce situation a little bit differently, and we'd be doing this week 1, where we'd be saying, like, hey, you guys look pretty good.
It's weird to think about it, but I feel like the Panthers are this year's Raiders. Well, whereas Raiders last year, when they finally fired their coach, it was like a new, like, fresh breath of air. You have the same cast, same people in the building, but the product on the field is different. Whether guys are playing harder, a little harder, and that's what it looks like with Carolina yesterday.
It's a veteran.
Because, yeah, you put Andy Dalton in there and you see all those pieces. Deontay Johnson, his numbers, if you look at his numbers for the past 2 weeks, I think he might have surpassed that in the game yesterday.
Yeah.
You got guys that you never heard of, Tremble catching the tight end.
Tommy Tremble?
Catching passes. And Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba Hubbard?
Who won me a first touchdown.
I heard
first
that
touchdown
happen.
bet. It's just guys that you know that are good, that they have in the building. It's good to see that Andy Dalton stepping in and kind of showing everybody, fans and everyone there, like, hey, guys, we actually have a chance. Like, we can play with everyone in the league.
No question.
As long as
imagine starting this way 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's just I do still feel for Bryce, because I feel for guys that end up in fucked up situations. And last year was terrible. Training camp shorter now. You don't have as much time to learn a new offense. Like, it's obvious to me he wasn't ready.
But is it that bad to be a backup quarterback?
Who?
Bryce.
No.
Like, feeling bad for him. Like, is it that
no,
bad?
No.
Like,
what I'm not
better.
You're not hearing me. I'm saying the only thing I feel bad for him for is, like, why did they force him out there? Now we're getting pictures of him hugging his dad before the game, and it looks like he's all distraught. And, like, his girlfriend, who he walked to camp with every day, is hanging out with Tyrese Maxey. And it's just like he's the main character. It's the most mental position in the NFL. Like, if you had any hope of him being a good quarterback for you down the line, maybe you just start with the vet and do the thing that other people are wisely doing. Like the thing in New England, every time Jacoby gets hit, I'm like, please get up, because not only he's my friend, but I want to see Drake May. I want to see any rookie quarterback sit, because I think there's a lot of credence to sitting guys. And he's not a rookie, but I would have started all over if that's how bad he was going to look. And this is what you get out of Andy Dalton. Maybe they're surprised. But I think it's good for this team, because nobody wants to lose a bunch of games in the NFL. I've been on teams like that where you're 1-15, 2-14. To go out on the road and get this done, come together a week after, like you're the main characters, not in a good way. Kudos to these guys, man, because I'm looking at Jadeveon Clowney and people like that. Like, you took the bag to go to Carolina. These vets, they want to win. Adam Thielen, like, you don't want to be out there doing cardio. You know, it's not fun.
Another guy on my fantasy team that got hurt. My fantasy team is fucking distraught. It's done.
Your fantasy team is not as important as your parlays, and one of them's still alive. Okay? Hey, guys, as you know, we've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for you listeners each week. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code GREENLIGHT, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Number one, download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code GREENLIGHT. 2, deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. 3, you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code GREENLIGHT when you sign up. Now, you are watching a master at work. It's time for the BetMGM moments.
Best flight.
Guys, you started off. Best flight. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'll start it off.
Go ahead.
Best flight. Go Birds, baby. Get that emotional win. You're celebrating in the locker room.
Oh, and you get some oysters. You get oysters after the game.
Dude, they have the best. They have the best post game meal in New Orleans.
Bro.
It's so good.
Hey, Bo.
Like,
Bo.
it's so,
When we got beat, I think 47-17 down there, the only thing that kept me alive after the game was those oysters. I'm out there like people are like, I'm sorry about the game. I'm like,
yeah, like what game? What are you talking about?
I'm crying. Eating
Dude.
I feel like the only after the game food I remember from the league is Kansas City, like having that barbecue.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That sausage.
Yeah.
No Diddy.
Oh, yeah.
In the cornbread. Best flight. I'm going Panthers from Las Vegas. That's like not having a win or looking at a season where everyone's talking about, hey, should we bet on this team not getting a win? And then you get a new quarterback. And if you're in that building, you probably think, hey, we get Andy Dalton, we'll win this game. And it actually happened. So nice flight home with some momentum going into next week. Maybe the only victory Monday you guys get the whole entire season.
No question.
So you got to cherish it. Probably a good flight.
You know, I'm going to go to college, and I'm going to give it to the Tennessee Volunteers. Sam Bradford, my boy, was at the game. He was out there. The pageantry was thick with 2 C's in Norman. By the way, this is how every college football game should look. Oklahoma against Tennessee. That felt like one of those, like, matchups that you didn't get to see a lot, like 2 powerhouses, 2 beautiful uniform teams.
Boomer!
And Josh Heupel, homecoming. Let me tell you something. I don't talk about a lot of college football on here, but I watched him talk to his team after the game. That's a guy who's connected to his players. Some coaches don't need gimmicks and shticks. You can care about your players without making it about you. And I just think this guy, and there's way too many college football coaches especially who fall into this trap in the day and age of recruiting and flash and flare. You could tell this guy is talking peer-to-peer with these guys, and he is getting the most out of them. I don't watch a lot of college ball, but that had to be fun. And I bet you Tennessee flies on a pretty nice plane because they're pretty well funded, I would imagine, in Knoxville. I still want to get to that game and spend some time on the river tailgating, maybe never going to the stadium. Best flight, Tennessee Volunteers.
Let's do it.
All right, worst flight. Who you got, Bo?
I got Marlon Humphrey. He's live on the flight. He's live on the flight back from Dallas. He's asking Lamar a bunch of questions, and Lamar was grilling him, telling him he shouldn't even be on live. He dropped a pick, blah, blah, blah. It was hilarious.
I love it.
Kind of awkward. It was great. Worst flight. He kind of walked away a little bit, tail between his legs from that. It was funny interaction.
Dog, that was so funny. And you know what I was talking to my dad about yesterday? We talk on the phone every Sunday. And he'll call, and I told him to take the Ravens. You know, I don't steer you wrong, Dad. And he calls, and I'm like, how about the Ravens? He's like, you know what my favorite thing about the Ravens is? Those guys in the backfield, they're all ball. You know, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, there's not a bunch of, look at me. It's just these 2 guys just love football, and they play hard, and they're tough. And I think Lamar, anytime you get a chance to mention this, because Lamar's got a lot of haters, Lamar is a tremendous leader. And Lamar is a great teammate. And I think sometimes he's got to be the guy who's like the bearer of bad news. A lot of these team planes now, these kids these days, they sound old, coming up in the NIL era, coming up in the social media era. And Marlon Humphrey's a great player, and I think his podcast is great. But he just ended up on the wrong side of this thing because he forgot who he was talking to. He's talking to Lamar Jackson, who's not satisfied. And it's a business trip, and they're 1-2 now. So while it was an awesome win for them, I think Lamar's like, hey, don't forget where we're trying to go. We're not just about trying to beat the Cowboys. That's not the Super Bowl for us. So I love Lamar, man. I just think he can do no wrong as a teammate or as a leader. If they clean the stuff up on the field, they'll be good.
Nate, what's your worst flight?
Worst flight, going Chargers. Leaving the West Coast leaving the East Coast after being here for 2 weeks. and on a loss, your quarterback might be hurt. I don't think that's a fun flight home.
Not at all. You're also very, like, those are those flights where it's kind of hot out and you're dehydrated and they ran the ball 30, 40 times in the game.
Yeah.
The whole flight back, you're feeling the sunburn, the Toradol wearing off, like dehydration. You go to the bathroom, the piss is just like orange Gatorade. And you're beat up. That's a tough flight. All right, worst flight? Worst flight, you ask? How could it get any worse than the Miami Dolphins?
Mm-hmm.
You're not only flying across, but you're flying diagonally down.
Mm-hmm.
Like and this is a big continent. That would be like in some other continents. That's it's not even a big deal. In our continent, it's out of control having to fly like that.
You lose time.
And you lose time. You're like, I can't even go out and like hang out in Miami.
Oh no,
like,
you can always.
We're bad. No, I know, but it's gonna be late. You're gonna be at Club Space at like 2 a.m.
That's what time it actually gets jumping. Though.
I know. But nobody wants to be out that late. We're professionals.
Bo, who's your Bevel Conway Award?
Tell that to the baseball.
Bevel Conway is the YouTube TV quad box for the 4 p.m. slate. Incredible.
Ooh.
I'm sitting there. I'm plugged in. I felt like that first time I was in the sports book with you and Bradford down in Vegas, Chris. Like, just imagine this quad box. Your boy, a little stone, chilling on my big ass couch, got my hand on my pants. What?
Jesus.
49ers, Rams. Great. Just a good view. Lions, Cardinals. Cardinals in the all black helmets were sick. The Ravens in Dallas. And then Miami and Seattle, just an elite quad box for your boy Sunday afternoon. It's great. It's a great lineup.
Kind of mid.
Okay, well let me give away my anti-Bevel Conway. One of them is what is like you're playing a blue team, you could be a red team. Like that's gorgeous. Blue and red. Well, you got black uniforms?
I like the blacks.
Okay.
Well, they're sweet.
Also, I think a real downside of wearing a black uniform against the Lions is they always think it's a light box and they're going to run the ball because black is slimming. I would never wear black against the Lions because they're just going to pound the ball.
It's just funny you guys saying it like that because Bo just said I like the blacks, so that I could get clipped the wrong way.
I like the blacks. Hey, if anybody says I like the blacks, they don't like the blacks. Like that's like a total racist way to say.
I've got friends that wear black uniforms.
Okay.
Like that is just. He didn't really say that for anybody listening. He was talking about the uniforms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. No, here we go. Bevel Conway. I'm giving it to Thielen stretching out for that touchdown pass.
Oh man,
the way he stretched out, and got his hands on that pass, full extinction.
Yeah, full extinction. You know what? It was full extinction because that was such a dime that 30-something-year-old Thielen basically popped his hamstring trying to get to it.
It's a bunch. It seems like he heard a bunch of things. Like you couldn't
be held on the ball.
I think like he grabbed his chest, his stomach. I think he landed on the ball, which hurts like fuck. And then he grabbed the back of his hamstring, and like he was able to walk off the field, but it was just one of those walks where you're like, he's not coming back.
You can't lead an older wide receiver like that. It's just
older white
hamstring. Yeah, you said it. A hamstring can only take so much. So. Bevel Conway, geez, so many options. Geez, haven't picked one. It's not Denver, Tennessee. It's not Houston and Minnesota. It's L.A. Pittsburgh. It's L.A. Pittsburgh. Not just the way the uniforms look, but it was a old-fashioned rock fight, and those are back in full effect.
Anti-Bevel. We got Chris's. What's yours, Bo?
No, I actually just wanted to shit on his.
Well, my anti-Bevel is packaged in with my Bevel because the anti-Bevel was watching Thielen have to be escorted off the field, especially when you have a parlay, 2 anytime touchdowns Thielen, and then Thielen throwing in a couple other parlays for receiving yards that he didn't quite get to yet. So that's my anti-Bevel.
My anti-Bevel Conway, I had to watch Virginia play Coastal Carolina this weekend. Go Hoos. They got the win. Had to watch the Fun Belt Network, which was tough. I'm not going to lie. I'm not saying those young men and women are not good at their jobs, but they're not really given a lot. from an audio and video standpoint.
There were hot mics everywhere.
There were hot mics. The field is turquoise, okay, and that doesn't look as cool as you think. You know, there's a lot of teams like Eastern Washington, I think, is like, let's make our team
teal wave.
Whatever it is, it's just a tough watch.
Surf the teal.
That was a tough watch.
Something like that.
Oh, and what are we at now?
We need Bo's ante.
Giants at Browns. It looked like dog shit.
The uniforms?
I just hated the whole thing. I didn't like it. I didn't. The stupid elf on the middle of the field for the Browns. Like,
Brownie.
What are we doing?
You don't like the elf?
Yeah,
Taking shots at Brownie.
I hating on Brownie.
Brownie ain't it, man. Like, you can't be a joke of an organization at this point and have that kind of play and then that stupid ass logo in the middle of your field.
It only works for Notre Dame because they select their opponents. You know? All right.
Yo, let me start with fly on the wall. I got a great one. I don't want you to steal it.
Go ahead.
There is no other place I want to be than a fly on the wall for the discussion, the meeting of minds between Big Dom, Clint Hurt, Nick Sirianni, and Jalen Carter at the end of the New Orleans Saints game. I would have absolutely loved to be backup Bo, backup nose guard, just peering through the bushes like Kim K in the GIF. Checking that one out. I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That talk about a meeting of minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. My fly in the wall is going. I would want to be in the meeting with Antonio Pierce and Telesco for the business decisions.
That's the one. That's the one.
That he
Popcorn.
said that he was going to be making because some guys were making business decisions on the field.
And I'm going to tell you what, by Wednesday when I drop the pod, I'm going to find out who was making a business decision, because can you imagine knowing you made a business decision and then hearing your head coach? Usually, I would imagine a guy that makes a business decision sits in there on Monday with his butthole puckered up like, I hope they don't put the red laser on me. And sometimes they don't. But that guy is not going to – that guy's going to put the red laser on you.
Yeah.
In front of the whole team.
Yeah. If you're willing to say that. If you're willing to say that, unless it's a tactic that we've never seen before to get everyone in there with their buttholes tight, which would be great too. But I have a feeling that someone might be getting cut or traded.
Oh, it's possible. It's possible. I kind of have the same one, so it's all good.
Best seat.
Great minds. Best seat.
I got a great.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I got a best seat, worst seat combo. A little combo platter for you here. Best seat, worst seat for Sunday Night Football would be at Carson Steele's sister's wedding. Best seat for your family, like your parents. Imagine Carson Steele's parents thrilled, ecstatic. Their two children are having some of the best days of their lives. Your son's getting to start Monday Night Football. Your lovely daughter is getting married. Worst seat in the house. Imagine being his sister for the wedding, getting outshone by your brother for his surprising Sunday Night Football NFL debut. Like, what an incredible thing.
PETA is now angry with Chiefs rookie Carson Steele. Who else are they not angry at for owning a pet alligator? But he's not eating the alligator, okay? There's nothing enjoyable
he has
about
the mouth
having
tape.
Yeah, they were mad about the
mouth
tape.
tape thing is fucked up. It's fucked up.
No, mouth taping is in right now. Haven't you heard? Everyone tapes their mouths.
Oh, yeah. You could sleep better that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Instagram Reels are dangerous. People think they're like science. You know, like you see some fucking some tech bro being like, "Yeah, I tape my mouth shut," like, and then you die.
He's just trying to get Crocky.
Bro,
J.
I have the funniest post that I could post about that Crocky J with his mouth taped shut. They turned my boy Crocky J into a meme. They put a Kansas City hat on him. They taped his mouth shut. I got the funniest tweet. I can't say it. I can't say it.
I can't.
Any guesses?
I can't say it.
That's the number one rule.
What? You got to say
You
it.
can't bring something up like that. You gotta say it.
I can't say it.
No,
you really can't.
We're live. Don't say it.
I'm not gonna say it.
Don't say it, and nobody guess.
Yeah.
Nobody guess what I might say.
Best seat is going. My best seat is going to Steph Curry, who was in Allegiant Stadium, who is a Panthers fan, watching his Panthers get their first win. I don't know.
Hey, I love it because I put these things together sometimes.
Well, and Brady gave him a compliment because he was talking about Brandon or Aubrey kicking field goals, and he was like, he's like the Steph Curry of kickers.
Yep, he did.
So he's watching a game and he's getting a compliment.
Yeah, that's true. All right, best seat, Ludacris has always seemed cool to me. I don't think he's going to get caught up in the P. Diddy thing. That's almost confirmation. He's out in public, right? No, Luda's the man. He's what? You think he is?
I just don't. It's hard to say. Don't say it now.
I know, but he's not doing anything curious. He's literally on Sunday Night Football, which tells me that and here's what I like about Ludacris. I just tuned in halfway through his spot with Rodney Harrison, Tony Dungy, and he looked like he belonged there. He wasn't a rapper doing football. He was like, I'm doing football. Mm-hmm. He was like, I like the outside zone.
He was just a fan of the team.
You can tell he's cool and he likes football. And I like Ludacris. Best seat in the house, Ludacris. I now if something changes in the next couple days, all right.
Just gotta steer away, just to keep, keep it safe right now.
Mm-hmm. Boy, that Dave Chappelle skit. From back in the day.
All of that shit's hilarious, bro.
Only drink the finest breast milk. I was watching that shit yesterday. I was like, dude,
it never gets old.
How smart is he?
He rides in on his bodyguard's back.
Yeah. Okay. What he did, piggyback. Golly, it's just such a fucked up world. All right.
Worst seat.
Worst seat. I don't know. You guys go.
I'm going worst seat. Dallas Cowboys season ticket holders. They haven't seen a win since last year.
Oh, wow. Worst seat. Oh, I don't have one.
I got another one.
No, worst seat. I have it. Worst seat. Jason Garrett and Saquon Barkley having to do that hit on a FaceTime. They're in the studio, you could just have him on the main screen, and they're like, let me pull it, let me promote my Motorola Razr, and we'll do a video chat where Jason Garrett's looking into the phone. That looks like me on an edible FaceTime with my parents, and they're just looking at me like he's high. That was how awkward that was. It was the worst, dude. Never do that again. I don't care how much money they're paying you. They had him on for 3 minutes, and they were this close to Jason's face. Look at this shit. Saquon's like, what are we doing, bro? Jason doesn't want to do that.
You also wanted to know how Jason was holding the setup. Was it just a phone, or was it
He had you think he had
It was just an assistant. There was some weird production assistant holding a
selfie stick
right in front of his face.
It was bad.
I had another worst seat besides Carson Steele's sister getting outshone at her own wedding. Worst seat is Dan Campbell flying back from Arizona on the plane, just being like, fuck, I should not have listed my house last week.
Yeah, that was terrible. Somebody said that was last year, but it was this year.
It was last week.
Oh, it was last week. Okay.
Yeah.
Fans don't sometimes know what they're talking about. Okay.
Hollow Man.
Oh, Hollow Man. Easy. All right. You would think I was going to give it to Jerry Jones, but how about the guy? 8.5 inches? That's all you got? You got to be embarrassed.
God. Cut it out.
That's it? That's the... Come on, bro. All right. Anyways,
if anyone in here can say that, it's you. I mean, you were the
Jerry Jones.
You were the second pick overall.
Oh, what are you going with?
I'm saying. If
talk about,
you got a great memory.
I'm saying if the owner, if Jerry Jones is talking like that, that means all the owners are measuring up like they do every other.
Okay. Let me just say this before we frame this entire conversation.
Third leg probably helps out for rushes, right?
Yeah, great base, and if one of his legs are off the ground,
Emily in the chat goes, Foles 8.5 inches in a blizzard.
Yeah, Foles 8.5 in the movie The Thing. He'd be outside naked looking for the thing, and it'd be dragging through the snow. Okay, we're talking about Jerry Jones, though, who I just want to say this before we have fun with this, because it is not fun. And here's this is the problem. Okay, it's bad on a couple levels because you get this old white man talking about people's dicks. That is
Donald Sterling vibe.
That's familiar, right? But more than anything, if any other CEO if any other head of a company,
HR,
if anyone else in the country running an organization of that scale were caught on tape talking about an employee's penis, that guy is not that guy anymore. And I think it speaks a lot to not only how fucked up the NFL can be, but also people in general are fucked up because they're looking at this and it's kind of funny. We're laughing, but why do we have to go through that?
Yeah.
You know, why do we? I don't want like
facts. Like,
why is that okay?
If I was part of the Cowboys,
and there's fans that are going to say, no big deal.
Anytime I see Jerry Jones,
it's fucking weird.
Anytime I see Jerry Jones, who's the owner, of this team, like I feel uncomfortable if you're in the locker room at any point from here on out now, and it's something that's normal. After games, it's everyone. When you win games, it's all these people in the locker room, the front office, like, and all these. I would not feel comfortable hearing him say that. Like, if he's walking around in the locker room at any point when I'm in there and I'm an employee, or if I'm in that.
People are asking where Jerry Jones said this. It was Jamie Foxx, who was, by the way, packing a fat dip. I wonder what kind of dip Jamie Foxx, who seems like a cool guy. And he's packing a dip, and he's talking to Jerry Jones, and he's like, it's him and Jerry. And Jerry, I could see how Jerry.
He's not talking to Jerry.
No, I understand. Jerry's right next to him, but they're boys. Like, they're sitting next to each other. They've known each other a while. And I understand the appeal of, like, Jerry. Jerry can be fun, and, like, I understand, like, he has a big personality. I'm sure if I sat down with Jerry for 10, 15 minutes, I'd enjoy Jerry. But you cannot. And I don't know how you get those figures. I don't know what's going on here. Like, I can't even believe we're talking about this. Football's so fucked up. It's such a, I don't even want to say it. It's just such a, I mean, it's like it's the plantation mentality thing, dude.
Yes,
it's always been that way. And like, this isn't like me being some butthurt guy or like, I don't care. You can talk about my dick, but like nobody else. By the way, Jerry, I'm 6'4", 270. Get it right. But there's nobody else that's running a company in the USA that can get away with that shit. And because it's sports and we're like not real people, it's not a big deal. Now you can say I'm being offended little guy or whatever, but I mean it's kind of fucking weird. You have to admit it. If you would be okay with your employer talking about your piece on a hot mic, whether it was a complimentary thing or not, then raise your hand.
I'd be okay.
Otherwise,
with that,
you're with me. You'd be okay with it.
You have mentioned my piece on the hot mic.
Matt raised his hand.
All right, Hollow Man, Bo, who you got?
Man, that is a tough act to follow, Chris. I just loved that whole monologue from you. I'm just gonna follow it up plain and simple. Bryce Young, you suck ass to start the season. Andy Dalton comes in and leads your team to victory, and it's simple. Like, your girls out there in the streets, like, come on, man, this guy wants to be invisible.
He wants to be invisible. I just want to add this one thing. Paul said Paul in the chat, the third leg is legit. I know it is. I bought a car from a former Eagles running back last week. You basically doxed him in the chat. How many guys are selling cars? And when I bought the car, he goes, he is a black guy, and said it was a monster. Enough said. So when you buy a car from a former Eagle, are you like, hey, no, tell me about Nick Foles. Tell me what's under the hood. And you're like, now tell me what's under the hood with Foles. Like, what kind of a conversation are you having, my brother in Christ?
Yes.
What are you doing, bro?
And for the ex-player,
it's awkward. Then he's like, I got to sell the car. What I want to say is like, none of your business, but I want to move this 300C. Yeah. That's just like, it's so weird, dude.
Hey, it only took us 3 weeks to devote significant airtime to talking about dicks. I love it.
Yeah. Anyways,
Nate, who you got?
My Hollow Man is going to.
I'm getting a lot of hey yo,
right? Hey yo, Arthur Blank getting himself into the Falcons Ring of Honor.
It's so funny. He did an Albert Brooks fake funeral. And he was like, hey, it's not a fake funeral. I got you some hot dogs.
I want to fly on the wall when he called Warwick Dunn just to be like, hey, just so you know, you have to come to this game to give me the jacket at my Ring of Honor ceremony. And
yeah.
Because Warwick Dunn was the guy who put it on. And he's like, hey, Warwick, you're showing up to the game. You got to put it on me.
Now, I think Arthur Blank is a really well-liked guy. And by all accounts, he seems fantastic. And he's one of the, like, guys that I think might be a good guy owner. But then I heard they were trying to sign Deshaun. Now I don't know where he stood on that, but I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt on throwing your own party. You know, like I don't like people that post their own birthdays on Instagram. I don't like any of that shit. Like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, that was.
You got to beat the Chiefs, bro.
Right.
STL Memorial, who balled out in obscurity yesterday? Bo, start us off.
Yeah, I'll start us off. I talked about this a little bit, I think. I've been going back and forth on this one. Anyway, I want to give it to Derek Hall from Seattle. He had 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. He had a great game. There were a lot of dudes, I think, who didn't get enough love on Sunday. I don't think he got enough love. He was very disruptive against the Dolphins.
STL Memorial is going to Malik Neighbors because, like we talked about earlier, I feel like he is good enough to save Daniel Jones' job. He made some incredible grabs and catches that I just feel like if you're a super Giants fan, you feel good actually finally seeing him make plays, and you see why you guys picked that player so high.
Yeah, no question. I'm racking my brain for one here. There's a guy that might not get a lot of credit because he didn't finish all his plays, but Jared Verse was awesome yesterday. 26.7% pass rush win rate, and I like his style. I liked it coming out. He reminds me of somebody with power and counters. Like, that group, if they can stay together, is going to be a lot of fun. Don't say it. His STL Memorial Award, named after the struggling Rams players who were balling in obscurity in the 2010s. The team moves. Jared Verse is the perfect guy for this award. I think he looked really good.
Full circle.
You were talking about an STL Memorial earlier with whoever is the man cutting Andy Dalton's hair.
Yeah, the barber, the STL Memorial to whoever Andy Dalton's barber is, who I'm pretty sure doesn't have red hair. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think Andy Dalton, you're going to give Drip King of the Week or something like that. Like, this guy looks great, and nobody's answered the question. Somebody said Carrot Top in the chat. No.
Some people threw in Andrew Santino.
Have you seen Carrot Top lately?
Andrew Santino.
He looks bad, dude.
Why did someone say that?
Tell me if you can find a redheaded man that if all of a sudden God was like, hey, I got some bad news for you. You got to be a redhead the rest of your life. You're going to wake up tomorrow, you're going to have red hair. You could look like anybody. You could look like the guy in Game of Thrones. Guy looks pretty cool. Or you could look like Andy Dalton.
Oh, Prince Harry.
You don't want to look like Prince Harry. You want to look like Andy Dalton, bro. The guy looks like he has Riz, bro. He does.
Andy Dalton?
Yeah, he looks like he's got Riz.
Can we get a
church Riz?
Can we get a length and girth?
He went to TCU.
Over here.
He went to TCU.
Say what?
Uh-oh.
I wonder if we could get a length and girth for Andy Dalton.
I'm out, dude.
Okay.
I'm out.
That's the cue for game ball.
Right? Had to say Gert. Jesus Christ.
All right. I'll start us off. Game ball. It's the easiest one of the fucking day for me. Saquon, 17 carries, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 catches and 4 targets. He carried the birds. He's unbelievable. I think it's been so much fun to watch him so far this season. That's an absolute no-brainer in my opinion.
My game ball is going to BYU's new quarterback, Jake Retzlaff, who happens to be Jewish, Chris, and hashtag BYJew. They had shirts for this kid after the win, and I love it. Shout out to all my Jewish friends and all the Jews out there.
Jewish quarterbacks?
Yeah. It's lit. Jewish quarterbacks breaking barriers, bro.
You know what else is lit? A menorah.
I didn't. That is nice.
All right. Fax is really spinning the dreidel with that take.
We need to spin the dreidel to the next segment. No, I got a game ball. This is a guy sometimes I wish I could still play. And usually it's because there's a guy that I wish I played with. And I'm giving my game ball to Jalen Carter. I need that from you, big dog, every motherfucking week. I don't care what they say about that tirade at the end of the game. If you play like that, it unlocks a lot for this defense. You know, you need somebody one-on-one. You need somebody to terrorize the interior of an offensive line. He did that yesterday. That's the guy we're talking about, okay? And so, yeah, it's a homer pick, but I was just hyped, dude. That guy had me ready to run through a wall, you know? So, game ball, Jalen Carter.
Wrapping up the show, Facts, what's the viral moment of the week?
My viral moment of the week this week is going to Saquon Barkley retweeting a Giants tweet where Malik Neighbors is talking about their win and him bigging up Malik Neighbors. I think that's something that you don't see too many guys do all the time. And for him to leave New York in that situation, and it probably feels good for fans to see another great athlete like Saquon big up who's supposed to be your next franchise player.
Dude, I'm not big on the rules when, like, you go to a city and they're like, you can't compliment that team. You
right?
can't be a fan of this team. You can't be a fan of that team. Saquon's Barkley's job is to show up and do what he did yesterday. And if you do what you did yesterday, like, I don't speak for Eagles fans, but I don't care what you say, bro. I don't care who you compliment. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking play like that. Doesn't matter.
If he would have retweeted this if they had lost, that
then
we don't
people
know.
are very
we
upset.
don't know. And
he couldn't have done
different.
this. He couldn't have done this last Monday night.
Yeah,
I'll put that way.
Exactly. But I thought that
that
was dope.
Eyeing that Knicks win total, like on the right over in the game. I'm a Knicks fan. I can't help it.
All right, Bo, what's our drip alert and what butter breakdown can the fans look forward to?
I got 2 drip alerts. First one, very simple. I love the Vikings throwback jerseys. I thought they were slick. The real drip king, though, is King Henry rolled up to Cowboys Stadium. Look at that. Look at that blue suit.
You love belt
bag,
bottoms, huh?
Hat.
Can you recreate this?
I was hoping you'd ask me that.
Can you wear this?
Wait, is this a Canadian tuxedo?
No. I think that's like linen.
No.
I think that's like blue linen. But you know what's great about
pants? Look at the belt chain.
The wallet
It's
chain.
the details, boys. It's the details.
Nobody's
The
stealing
flared
his
pants,
fucking
the
wallet.
Boots, the hat. I wonder what kind. It's just incredible.
The
man.
best
That's a great
pickpocketer in Rio wouldn't go near him. Like, I don't know.
Cap.
No.
Cap.
No.
Yeah,
He's
take
getting
everything
Josh
in that wallet
Norman.
and
He's
put
getting
it-
Josh Norman.
Put it right back in your pocket.
But look at that bag. That's a good looking bag. If I was
That's a good
cooler,
look.
I could
bag,
have
the
that,
hat,
bag
the
like
boots.
That. Yeah.
Come on now.
That's a really
Going
good
with
one.
some style.
Okay,
got that Riz like you're talking about.
Riz. What you doing, Bo? You butter breaking something down, or did you already tell me that?
No, I got a couple. I'm thinking about a bunch of different options for butter breakdowns. The front runners right now, Sexy Dexy for the Giants. She had 6 pressures, 3 tackles, 2 sacks. I just love his game. Love talking about him as a nose guard. So he will definitely get some shine. And then Grenard versus his old team in Houston. He had 2 sacks. He was super disruptive. And then I also
3,
wanted
bro.
to-
Don't short my guy.
Get a 3-piece?
Yeah.
Get a hat
My
trick.
bad, brother. Fuck.
Yeah.
Good shit. Also, want to talk about the Eagles a little bit and how they responded in the run game versus Saints. So, looking forward to breaking that shit.
Those butter
down
breakdowns
for
are
you.
great.
We got two Monday night football games tonight. The Bills are a 5.5 point favorite against the Jags, and the Bengals are 7.5 point favorite against the Commanders. Nate, do you have any first touchdown scorer bets that you're going to place on BetMGM? I know you hit your Alan Lazard last week.
I did hit Alan Lazard last week for the Thursday night game, but I have a special juiced up one tonight. I'm feeling pretty good about plus 2,000 odds. I'm going with Austin Eckler.
Nice.
First TD. And if you want to get frisky and put another first TD bet in, I also have for the other game tonight, I have Gabe Davis. Revenge game.
I'm feeling like a Tanner Hudson thing might happen.
Maybe.
You know?
Ooh, I love that.
Let me tell you
Chris.
something about this Jags game. The Jags are not a good football team right now, but they have always matched up kind of well with these guys. Like they make it a little ugly, and I think the defense is going to be ready to play for the Jags. I like Nielsen a lot. It feels like a long time since these teams have played. That's what you want after you play so terribly 8 days ago. I think more than anything, the Jags offense might get clicking a little bit tonight. And so This is going to be an interesting game. I can't call it. I'm a huge Bills fan. I think they probably find a way to win, but it's going to be tight. I think 5.5, that's a lot of points. And then Commanders-Bengals, no offense if you've got the commies, but the Bengals are a good football team masquerading as a bad football team. I think tonight they figure it out.
They're going to win by – do you think they're going to win by 8 points or more?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
You're a scumbag for that. You're just saying that.
Why?
Because I got this open bet. It's all good.
No.
It's all good. Wait till next week when you're crying about the Eagles. You just wait, buddy.
When you're crying about Bo Melton.
Melton.
Bo Melton could just score. This $2 bet turns into $300.
No, I would have won $1,100 this weekend if Bo Melton scored.
No, that was crazy.
Amari Cooper,
I'm
Bo
sorry.
Melton, and Malik Neighbors.
I'm sorry you didn't pick more of a red zone target.
I guess.
All right, big thanks to BetMGM. Be sure to like, subscribe. And
We got to
tell your
give
friends.
Bo.
Oh, we got to give
video.
Bo closing
gets his
video. It can
video.
be anything. I mean,
Chris swore infinity times. I got a fun little video for y'all. Check this out.
Oh,
he's showing this
promotion.
Are you kidding
This
me?
isn't a highlight.
Oh, it's the hippo. Thank God.
Oh, what the?
Oh! He smacked the hippo's ass. This is the best video.
What in the Jerry Jones?
It is so much better than the video that it's actually cut from. Look at that little hippo. Give me all your loving, all your hugs and kisses too. I would legitimately if you could freeze any animal in like a small form and keep it there, maybe a hippo.
You would do a hippo?
Yeah, they're deadly when they get old.
Yeah, when they get big, they're gonna kill you.
Did y'all see the Chinese
You can't tape
zoo?
his mouth shut.
Did y'all see the Chinese zoo
hilarious.
that painted dogs like pandas?
No.
Yeah,
All
they got
different
dogs
type of
running
animals.
around.
They have like lions, and there's just like.
Oh, they painted.
Bro, they fooled everybody until one of the pandas barked, and then they're like, "Wait a minute."
Look at.
Hold on. Yo, that's wild, dude.
Imagine being high at the zoo and being like, that panda looks funny.
I'd be like, yeah, they cut the budget here. That's crazy. You're just spray painting fucking. Yeah.
And the panda who barked, you messing up the gig, bro. Like, damn.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We at the zoo. We could be in the pound.
Guys, lastly, I want to give myself a round of applause because I'm quitting Zen.
Whoa.
I'm cutting down on Zen. I did this show going through nicotine withdrawals. I'm down to 18 milligrams a day. Next week it'll be 9. Who knows where we go from there?
You cutting down?
Yeah. It's not as innocuous as people would like you to think. If I end up dead this week, it's probably Philip Morris. Because Zen is not all well and good, dude. You know?
Going back to dip?
No.
Oh, word.
No. I've been a nicotine addict since I was 15 years old. Let's find out what it's like without nicotine in your life.
Don't do it.
Come on,
I'll give
man.
you 3 weeks. What's
You
the bet
low-key-
I feel great.
You low-key
honestly.
got you low-key got
First
me addicted to
touchdown
dip.
score?
Yeah, I did. High key.
You did.
High key.
On my official visit was the first time I ever dipped.
Surprised you didn't get addicted to 40 ounces, all the 40 ounces we were feeding you. Poor fucking kid.
Old English.
Is that it, guys?
That's it.
Hey,
Thank
chat. Hey, chat. I can't say enough. I love you guys. I love you. In the words of Chad Johnson, I fucking love you. And you just keep showing up. You keep showing up for this show, and you keep going out and telling it on the mountain.
Yeah,
Because this show's actually pretty decent, and these guys are awesome, and we're having a lot of fun. We love you so much. Even if you're like a Cowboys fan, I'm praying for you.
Man,
okay?
It's early to start praying for Cowboys fans.
It's never too early to start praying for Cowboys fans.